Got a crash blocking the right lane, 24 westbound at Bell Road. TDOT says the left two lanes are blocked, 24 westbound near the Antioch Pike overpass by a crash in Glencliff. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Welcome in. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day and another week. I'm so pleased and proud that you've become a part of the day, our day today. We come together at 3 o'clock on a daily basis, and I hope you're able to spend the entire 4 hours with us. I just got my daily pep talk from Jackson from across the hall. You see that, Chris Webber?
Yeah. Very nice of him to do that.
Oh, no. He gives me, he peps me up. He pumps me up every day. We were talking about Mel Kiper Jr. over the weekend.
Speaking of pepped up.
Y'all seen any of that? Never seen an old white dude so personally offended over something that he had nothing to do with. Anyway, we've got a big show for you today. Excited to be here. There's Chris Webber. He's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. And if no one else does today, Chris, I want to thank you for it.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, you didn't say thank you and you're welcome and you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah? Are they still paying you?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
You'll find out tomorrow or Wednesday.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, sometime later on in the week. There's Ken Weaver. He's behind the glass making sure that all of the news that's fit to broadcast gets presented twice an hour and when it breaks. Hello, Mr. Weaver.
How you boys doing?
I got bad news to start the show, and it's of a serious nature. They found bodies. Did y'all see this in Nashville? They found some bodies in the woods.
What?
This is
Really?
breaking. This is breaking news. I'm not being funny. It's breaking news. They found bodies in the woods, and I got to find out some deets on that. So, Ken, if you see the alert coming out, that was from WSMV Channel 4, and I saw it just a couple of minutes ago.
I see MNPD investigating apparent double homicide near Percy Priest Lake.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And so, did we not have another? Riley Strain situation that went on late last week into the weekend. I think that is the case. You're shaking your head?
I saw something about that, yeah.
I saw something about that, too. And listen, I'm seeing a lot of examples of women coming forward saying their drinks had been spiked, men coming forward.
Yep, that's right.
I have seen that.
Drinks had been spiked, and then we have a young man that apparently went missing, and if he's been found and I missed it somehow, I apologize. But I want to delve into this and see if we can give you some details on the story. But let me tell you, folks.
Do not leave your drink.
Well, don't leave your drink unless you have a trusted person.
Yeah. Yes,
I mean, if you go to the bathroom and the three of us are at a bar downtown and Ken and Chris and Matt are tying one on, then I would trust that Weaver would watch my drink.
Yes, I would. And I would finish it.
Well, that was about to say. The only worry you would have with me, Ken, is that you come out, it's like, somebody walked by and finished that drink, Ken. and they don't even like IPAs. Well, how'd you know it was an IPA, Brother Murphy?
I'll just guess.
I'll get you another one. Never mind. Just forget about it. But no, you got to watch out. And while all of this is happening before our very eyes, Mayor Freddie O'Connell can't make a damn decision about LPRs, can't make a decision about fuses, can't make a decision, it seems to me, about anything. He'll be on with us Thursday, unless I keep ranting and raving about him. He'll be on with us Thursday, starting at about 3:15 in the afternoon, directly following his State of the Metro address, which is happening at 10 o'clock Thursday morning in the Nashville Public Library. I will be in attendance at the rally in advance of that. So I might, if Chris Hand wants me to, I might call into the Chris Hand Show and give you an on-the-scene report from outside of the public library as to how many people have shown up protesting the property tax increase that is expected by the mayor. So the only thing the mayor seems to be settled on doing is raising your property taxes. Can't figure out crime. Crime's going, I mean, y'all tell me, does it not seem like crime's going up? Does it not seem like there's a harder edge in some of the more populated areas where tourists like to go and travel? How long before tourists decide, hey, we wanted to go to Nashville, but Nashville's changed, they say. How long before that occurs? Because I promise you this, the city's going to still want its money. The state's going to still want their money. As conservative as they might be, that tourism dollar dries up, and I promise you they're going to get their money from somewhere. Where's that going to be? So we'll delve into this double homicide that just broke on WSMV Channel 4, and then the story over the weekend.
Yeah, and I've got a little information on that. I thought that the post I saw was from Nick Barris of News Channel 5, and I was correct. He did post about that over the weekend. And apparently it was a missing hockey player from Canada by the name of Taylor Boylan. He has been found, and he is okay. But apparently it was could have been because of him posting this on social media. But a woman messaged Nick Barris with a photo of a young man that she had run into, and said that his name was Taylor Boylan, and he was disoriented. He was sitting in a McDonald's.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but he is okay. He has been found.
Well,
so he might have ingested something that he just is completely lost.
Yeah, this is what Nick Barris says that Taylor told him. He says, quote, he's not exactly sure what happened, but there's a large gap of time missing from the nighttime to early morning. He says, I woke up in a field, missing my Apple Watch, wallet emptied out, except IDs, and no phone.
Whoa.
Says he feels fine other than a few bumps and bruises across his body, and he remembers nothing.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so, on first blush, you hear about this kind of stuff, and you think, well, yeah, I see it. When I go down there, I've seen it, where they're just people blitzed out of their mind. They're drunk out of their mind. Yeah. But there is a difference between being drunk out of your mind, being irresponsible, and what you just described.
Yes, absolutely.
That feels like he got slipped something.
That's what it looks like, yeah. That's what I would guess. I mean, if you're missing everything out of your wallet, missing your phone,
missing your watch.
Yeah, that points to someone is taking advantage of you.
I mean, that's just that's no good. That's no good. And would it not seem normal that if women are on high alert, as they should be, obviously, well, if you are a thief and your interest is not to attack someone in a physical or sexual way, if your interest is to steal from them, then you find these drunk younger people, males, go after them, incapacitate them. They are complete. I mean, I'm a dude. Why would anybody spike my drink, right? I mean,
you're not on guard.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's an easier target for some of these aggressive predators downtown. Y'all be careful down there, man.
Yep.
2653. I've got a lot of people asking me to ask questions of Freddie O'Connell. Hang on to it because we'll ask him all of these questions coming up on Thursday. And look, I'm going to be as fair as I possibly can be, but at some point, I mean, at some point, the excuse making has to stop, especially on LPRs. LPRs, license plate readers. I understand the civil libertarian argument against them, but I am over that because of the nature of crime that exists in the inner city and because I do not believe that you have a natural predisposition to privacy when you're on public streets, okay? There's a reason that we tag vehicles to begin with. That said, and I'm willing to have that conversation with civil libertarians on one side of it. But Freddie's argument is disingenuous at best. Delay. His latest argument, and I don't know if you guys have seen this. I saw it over the weekend. I can pull the audio for you. So if you don't know, the city council passed approval for license plate readers. And all they had to do was find the appropriate third-party company, get contracts set in stone, bring the contracts back to the city council, have the city council approve the contracts, and then we're done. They've approved the concept of license plate readers. But Freddie O'Connell, the mayor of Nashville, a man who has claimed in the past that he is in favor of license plate readers, mind you, while crime continues to go up and up and up and up and up and up and up in the city of Nashville, the mayor now says, well, if they had the vote today, I don't think that they would have enough votes. Well, they've already had the vote, Freddie. The city council has already approved the contracts. You've been slow walking the contract process for your own reasons. All I ask is that, and I will ask him this on Thursday, and hopefully the mayor will have an answer. Are you personally in favor of license plate readers in the city of Nashville? Yes or no? Don't tell me what the city council thinks. Don't tell me what the police department thinks. Don't tell me what community groups think. Don't tell me what this organization thinks. Tell me what you think, dude, because you're the mayor. And if I've learned anything about Donald J. Trump that you could take a note from, it's that if you're the chief executive, you can get things happen. You make things happen when you want to. Now, can't you? Now, can't you? In the meantime, there's a lot of other matters going on. The 8574 says he was found at a McDonald's in Hermitage.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's a long way from downtown.
That's true.
That is a long way from downtown. A lot of people are getting roofied in Nashville. Y'all just be really, really careful. And I wonder if the mayor's aware of this and what he's doing about it. I mean, do we have I missed the robust effort to hire more police officers? Is there one? Is there a conversation about raising the salaries of Nashville police in order to facilitate more officers signing up to be on the force? Is there a spirit of camaraderie and police support that is necessary to encourage individuals to stay on the force in Nashville and not move to some of these other communities that might have a better police spirit or less of a hassle, frankly, when patrolling those city streets? I mean, all of these things matter. And it's my understanding we're down hundreds of officers, not tens or 100, like hundreds. The last I heard was that we were down 300 officers. Now, I've not seen a firm number in the last year or so. A lot of people, and a lot of drugs and a lot of criminal activity in downtown Nashville. There are other matters going on. I was going to ask Ken Weaver this question before we went on air, and I'm not trying to put him on the spot because, frankly, I don't know. This woman that originally was from California that supposedly killed herself in Australia over the weekend, Virginia, is it Giuffre?
Oh, Giuffre.
Giuffre.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Giuffre.
Giuffre.
I'm going to spell
Giuffre.
that. Giuffre.
Yeah.
We got to have a conversation, y'all.
This is a weird story.
She literally posted on social media, if I ever end up dead, I didn't kill myself.
Right.
Literally posted that on social media.
Yes.
And why is nobody, I mean, is anybody conversing about this? Is anybody having a discussion about this?
I don't see anything about it.
Everybody's like, oh, it's just awful. It's trash. I mean, I saw something. Hold on. I'll pull it up here. This is mostly what I'm seeing. The tragic death of Virginia Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre recently committed suicide. She was 41 years old and had 3 children. She had accused Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew of sexual abuse when she was underage. She died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound last week at her home in Australia. Giuffre had suffered from intense emotional pain during decades of trauma from alleged childhood sexual abuser Epstein and others. Legal battles and public scrutiny surrounded her cases against them. And then this goes on to talk about the post-traumatic stress, et cetera, and I'm sure all of that's true. And then it says, Giuffre's story is a sad one and highlights sex trafficking and the lasting trauma beyond physical abuse. She had courage to speak out. Too often, silence feels safer. Her story calls attention to survivors needing compassion and affirmation. Her life and legacy reminds us to listen, support, and act against exploitation. If you know someone needing help, et cetera, don't let something bad end your life. It's not easy to overcome evil things that happen to us, but with God's help and caring, you can. And then it talks about suicide. But never once in this entire story, and I've seen story after story after story on this, never once does it question whether or not she killed herself. And you're talking about someone who has publicly declared, I'm not going to kill myself. If I end up dead and it looks like a suicide, it's not a suicide. How deep does this rabbit hole go? And how willing are we? Y'all remember the deal in Franklin a few years ago with the illegal alien soccer coach? With the guy, he was like a soccer guy or whatever, and he was illegal alien, and he was found to be taking photos, and I think there was a physical. I forget some of the details of the case, but I remember this. Y'all remember how quickly that story just went away? And I'm not saying that the people covering these stories are intentionally doing this, but do we not believe that maybe that rabbit hole went a little bit deeper in Franklin? We know that human trafficking goes on. We know that child trafficking goes on. I think most of us, I don't want to say you, but many of us live in a world where we want to choose to believe that it doesn't go on with the regularity that it really does. And I think that's part of this story involving Virginia Giuffre. I mean, why aren't more people not questioning this? We'll get into it on the show today. Would be happy to get your thoughts on it as well. Over the weekend, Donald Trump attended the Pope's funeral. Had a little meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. Y'all see that? I mean, has there ever been more iconic photographs of a president of the United States in history? I mean, just last week you had him with the bunny ears. Did y'all see that one? That was good.
Oh yeah,
so it was. I declared it was the best presidential photo in history. The Easter bunny standing right behind Trump, and it looks like Trump's got the bunny ears. Mm-hmm. It's so good. This one's even better. I mean, it's him and Zelensky in chairs in the middle of this huge grand ballroom, and they're hunched over and they're talking. And it's like, Trump's trying to tell him. He's trying to tell him. And then Trump came out of that and wagged his finger. He's not getting any credit on the national media. He told Putin, you need to get right. And somebody said, do you trust this guy? He's like, I don't trust anybody. I ain't trusting him. We'll find out in 2 weeks is what he said. So we'll get into that today. I mentioned the rally on Thursday. Everybody's getting real pissed about Real ID. We'll have that on the story today. I got Jason Whitlock stopping by. He's in the green room as we speak. You know what the green room is, Chris?
In the hallway?
Yeah, in the hallway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's standing around out there in the hallway. That's our official green room. I hope somebody's gotten him some water. Man, when you come to this facility, it's first class all the way. When you ask for water, you know where you get it from? Right out the tap, baby.
Only the best.
Right out the tap.
Well, now there's a little cold water machine over there up against the wall.
That's just for me.
That's true. That's
Nobody
true,
else gets
kid.
that.
Keep me honest. There is. And you can get hot if you want it, too, right?
You can. And you can get hot right off the coffee spigot, too.
Oh, that's a good play. See, I don't go near any of that stuff. Any of that stuff.
Me
if
either.
if I can't out of this facility, let me tell y'all something. And I'm not trying to be Howard Hughesy right here, but out of this facility, if I don't see that it go psst, like if it doesn't pop open, or if I can't hear the little cap open,
the safety seal.
Yeah. Are you in that boat, right?
Oh yeah. Have you seen these people we work with? I mean, come on now.
I mean, look behind you.
It's radio.
Look
folks.
at it. Look at it. Right.
Yeah, but
Just look at it.
hot water kills germs, boys.
I don't think it's hot enough.
Dan Mandis uses hot water out of this facility, doesn't he?
For his tea, his throat coat.
His slippery elm throat
Yeah,
coat.
slippery elm throat coat. I used it on my cup of mac and cheese.
You
Did you have a snack pack?
Yeah,
with
there
that?
for a while I was eating little snack packs of mac and cheese.
was that today?
No, not today.
What? Stop everything. I'm not aware that any of this exists.
Yeah, you can get a box of little cups of mac and cheese.
And you put hot water in it.
Yeah, you just put
Oh,
real
you
hot
can
water
use
in them.
And then just mix it.
Yeah, it's got the little cheese packet powder.
Yeah.
You dump that in there, put the hot water on top, stir it up.
And
All you
voila,
need is a spoon.
My word.
mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Wow, the 21st century ain't all bad.
It's not very much, though. I mean, I can finish them with just about 3 scoops.
Uh-huh.
You know, now they make pre-sliced loaves of bread, too.
What?
You ever heard of that?
What? No.
I'm telling you.
I don't need my chopper?
You don't need it anymore. Throw it right away.
I got to ask you a question, Brother Murphy.
There's a fascinating world out there that I'm not living in.
What's
I tell you, all right, hit me.
what became of that gummy bear you had down there?
I got a big-ass gummy. It was the biggest 800-calorie gummy bear, as we call them now on the Matt Murphy Show. Officially, they're gummy bears forevermore. I found that out. I had to get it for Senator Briggs. I was gonna send it to Senator Briggs, but Scotty, who runs Drafts and Watercrafts, said right at the end of the show, I had him on, and he said, "When do you?" This is what y'all don't make me laugh. This is what he said. He said he gave me that look. He's like, What are you going to do with that gummy bear? And I said, that gummy bear is yours if you want it, Scotty, for your hospitality, my friend. And so I sat down with a couple of listeners and had a cold beer right after the show, right there on the water, and watched the water. Yeah. And I look over in the corner, and he's got it out. He's gnawing on it. He said, I think this thing's made of plastic. I said, well, whatever it's made of, it was made in China. That's your first problem. So, yeah, I bet he's finished it by now. All right, we got to go 26 after the hour, and we'll get with Jason Whitlock coming up in a moment on Super Talk. All right, friends, let's talk for a moment about your health, particularly men. I want to talk to you about your men's health because things can happen in your body over time that you don't have to put up with anymore, gentlemen. We were talking about how wonderful the 21st century truly is, and one of the wonders of the 21st century is Tennessee Men's Clinic. I'm not being hyperbolic. The Tennessee Men's Clinic truly does change the game when it comes to dealing with issues that many men just had to accept in their lives, right? A lowered testosterone level oftentimes means that you no longer have those opportunities for intimacy with your significant other. And that can be a bad deal, folks. It can be a bad deal. Let's not put up with it. Let's get to the source of solutions. That's Tennessee Men's Clinic. You go in and the professional urologist will give you a looking over, tip to stern. They'll talk to you about what's going on. They'll check your blood, and you'll find out before you leave Tennessee Men's Clinic, what's the deal? What about your testosterone levels, and what can we do to get them back up to where they need to be so you can get back to life again and get back to intimacy again with your significant other? That's what it's all about. 615-208-9090, 208-9090, or go online to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
3:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And Channel 4 says investigators are working to identify two bodies found in Donaldson. Police say the men were killed, but they don't have any suspect information. Listen to this story out of Texas, where a mortuary owner is accused of conducting experiments on corpses. 50-year-old Adeline Bowie allegedly chopped off heads, arms, and spines to test the impact of embalming fluids and allegedly directed employees to do the same. Bowie's attorney urging the public not to jump to any hasty conclusions about the woman, who is free on bail. The attorney says this case involves complexities that are not immediately apparent and should not be sensationalized. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he will propose changes to a state law that for now does not allow Nashville to lower the grocery sales tax rate. A bill passed by lawmakers last year allows cities and counties to reduce their grocery sales tax, but not metropolitan areas, which is how Nashville operates. Mayor O'Connell says he wants to bring the grocery tax rate in Nashville below the current 6.25%. And bad news for Murray County. More than 400 jobs are going away, not just in Murray County, but Henderson County, too. Channel 4 says automotive seating manufacturer Adient Facilities announcing their permanent closure of the two facilities in Murray and Henderson counties in Tennessee by this summer. And the Society of American Florists worried about tariffs.
This is Jim Ryan with proms, weddings, and Mother's Day looming.
The timing of the year makes it extra stressful because I already have so much to worry about.
Says Austin florist Kaylee Presby Gaines, who says she has no choice but to pass on the new tariffs to her customers. 85% of flowers sold in the U.S. are grown abroad, with the top suppliers being Colombia, Ecuador, Canada, and Mexico. Floral imports from some of those countries now face a 10 to 18% tariff.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, TDOT says there's a crash blocking the right lane 40 eastbound after Broad. And in Rural Hill, a crash blocking the off-ramp lane 40 westbound to Bell Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. And what if I told you there is a place you can go for your lawn, for your landscaping, where you can shop like the pros and you can present in your lawn like the pros present. It's at Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. It's a blend of professionals walking through the doors and amateurs like yourself that want your lawn to look like it's been done by a professional. You do that with professional-grade product like the Ferris line of suspension mowers. You wouldn't drive your car without suspension, and I don't know why you would drive your lawnmower without suspension. You don't have to, because at Ferris, their commercial mowers have set the bar in terms of suspension and contact on the surface of your property. It's incredible. You just have to see it to understand it. They have 7 convenient Middle Tennessee locations. You're never too far from one of their stores. And you need to get ready. You need to get the fertilizer on the lawn if you've not already. You need to make sure you got the herbicides and all of the things that are going to make your lawn lush and beautiful and the envy of the neighborhood. You do that at Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Go to DickensSupply.com for more info, or go to Nashville, Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Brentwood, Moore, Hendersonville, Mount Juliet, and Franklin. It's Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show. It's 3:37. Good afternoon. Welcome, one and all, whether you're watching on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We thank you for that. Listening on a variety of apps, including our own, and, of course, 99.7 FM. We thank you. If you're watching, you see the man. He's in studio with us. He is Jason Whitlock, host of the Fearless Podcast and host of Roll Call 3.0, which is coming hot dang this weekend. Friday and Saturday. I'm so very excited to have you in to talk about it. What is up, Jason?
Matt, thank you for having me back. I've seen you now twice in the same month. This is incredible. This is the start of a friendship.
I feel it. I feel it happening in this very room as we speak. And I'm very excited. Obviously, we're excited about the event this weekend, and we're going to talk all about it. But I'm excited about something else. I'm excited. I intentionally tried to stay away from this subject at the beginning of the show, knowing that you would be on with us. Because I have two words for you, and then I'm just going to get out of the way. My two words are Shadur Sanders.
Tupac Shadur is what I'm calling him. Tupac Shadur. He wants to be a rapper, and he's wondering why the NFL wants no parts of him or is very suspicious of him. This NFL story is crazy. The people claiming racism. It's racism. That's why he wasn't drafted in the first round. Well, how about the black quarterback that was drafted number 1 overall? How about the 16 black quarterbacks scheduled to start in the National Football League this year? Half of the starters are black. How about the top 5 players in the National Football League in terms of pay? Primarily black quarterbacks. How do they walk around all of these issues? How do they walk around the fact that the National Football League has created more black millionaires, male millionaires, than any industry in the history of America? But somehow this league is racist because Deion's wannabe rapper son acted a fool during the NFL draft process, took a dump on the National Football League and teams that were interested in him, and acted like he was better than everybody else. And they said, nah, we're good. You're not that talented. You have an ego the size of your father, and you're not the can't-miss product that your father was. You're a 3rd or 4th round quarterback in a weak quarterback draft, so you're overvalued, but you're carrying yourself like you're Deion Sanders, and you're really Tupac Shadur, and we're not going to draft you that high when you want to be a rapper.
You know more about sports and the inner workings of the various sports industries than I ever will. But I'm only watching. At some point, I'm only watching over the weekend to watch Mel Kiper go absolutely bonkers,
yes.
Right? I mean, and he did. I don't know why this man took all of this so personally, but he apparently did. But I'm sitting there thinking, if I saw a man walk into an interview and he put himself above team, which is what what everybody's hearing, is that the NFL said this guy didn't act that interested in the interview process. Did not seem that interested in breaking down the quarterback position, just seemed to take an attitude of you need me far more than I need you. And these executives, they're in a bit, they don't want any part of that.
Matt, let me make an analogy appropriate for your audience. Tupac Shadur was the Russia hoax all over again. Tupac Shadur was a race hoax all over again. For 2 years, the legacy sports media lied to us about who Shadur Sanders was. He's the greatest quarterback ever. He's this, he's that. He's just like Drew Brees. He's just like Dan Marino. All of that was a lie. I played Division I college football. I've covered the National Football League throughout a 30-year career. I've seen can't-miss quarterbacks before. The media lied. This is no different than how they lied about Hillary Clinton. She's the greatest thing since sliced bread. No different how they lied about Kamala Harris and putting all these celebrities around Kamala Harris to convince you that she was some kind of Barack Obama-like character. And Barack Obama, another hoax, fake background, and he's God's gift to racial harmony in America. He's going to make everything all better. Joe Biden ran for president from his basement. They're so used to the legacy media just being able to tell us lie after lie after lie, and everybody believes it. And then all of a sudden, reality comes from out of nowhere. And the next thing you know, Mel Kiper sounds like the pollsters on 2016. I can't believe Hillary Clinton didn't get elected. And so they lie about the lies that they told.
It reminds me of the old story about Lady Astor in New York City, who was shocked when John F. Kennedy beat Richard Nixon. And she said, I can't believe that Kennedy beat Nixon. Nobody that I know voted for John F. Kennedy. It was like she was completely oblivious to the fact that maybe that says more about her than it does about him or the vote. So what we were told by some in these media circles, and I think there's a lot of race baiting going on, and maybe even some political posturing going on, if you believe some of the media, that this was collusion. That 32 NFL teams got together and decided we're gonna show, what'd you call him, Tupac Shakur? We're gonna show Tupac Shakur who the real bosses are.
The collusion was the other way. It was the legacy media lying to you out of fear of Deion and the worship of Deion. They've created a communication system echo chamber where if you're remotely critical of Deion Sanders or someone that black culture or social media, black Twitter has said, oh, that's one of the special versions of black people. If you're critical of them, you're racist. And so out of fear and out of just, hey, the idolatry and worship of Deion Sanders, he used to work at the NFL Network. He's friends with all the guys at the NFL Network. So they lied. The people over at ESPN, they're using Shadur Sanders and Deion Sanders for television ratings. And so they need to convince you that Deion's this great historic coach and that his son is this great historic quarterback. That helps ratings. All of the media, and people at Fox Sports, they're afraid of being called racist, being afraid of being critical of Deion Sanders because he will play the race card on you and social media will justify it. So they lied and no different. Hey, let me tell you that Hillary Clinton is the greatest presidential candidate ever and the future is all women. If you don't agree, you're sexist. You got to say all these things about Kamala Harris. No matter how dumb she sounds in interviews, you can't say it. You can't point it out. You'll be racist or a sexist. Barack Obama, same thing. You can't question his legacy, background, any of that. You're racist. You're homophobic. I don't know. But all of these things led to the collusion on the other side of building up this lie of Shadur Sanders, and the NFL, like American voters, eventually had their say. And the scouts all said, hey, man, this guy's a second, third, fourth round draft pick with first-round headaches. We're good. We're going to pass on this.
I think there's a broader conversation that's been going on for several years regarding this concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Words that when most people who don't dive into the subject matter hear, they think, well, yeah, I mean, who doesn't want an inclusive workplace? Who doesn't want a diverse workplace? But the underpinnings of these concepts, which I think have been exposed, we were talking about Robbie Starbuck before we came on air. Robbie's done a great job of exposing some of this. It exposes this phony position that many of these companies have taken, I think, out of fear.
Yes.
And when they get exposed in the position that they've taken, they immediately dismantle the position because they know that it's rickety as hell and it doesn't really work in terms of colorblind meritocracy.
I don't know if they immediately back away. They've been forced to back away because of people like Robbie Starbuck, because Trump won the election.
Because of people like Jason Whitlock.
Yeah, because the electorate has decided, like, hey, that's all BS. Listen, Matt, I told you this before we came on air. There's a very uncomfortable conversation that we have to have here in America. And people always talk about, oh, people are afraid to talk about race. That's the problem if we just talk about it. I'm not afraid. One, I'm black. And two, I have a biblical worldview. I'm not afraid of being called any name. You can call me an Uncle Tom, a coon, whatever, sellout. Hey, man, we have a black racism problem in America. It's no different than the white racism problem we had in the early 1900s, late 1800s, all throughout the 1800s. It's no different. There is an anti-white racism being led by black people in elite positions in the media space and all over these social media influencers, that the way to get clout is to just get on social media and get on TV and say the white man is the word. He's the devil. They make movies about this. I don't know if you've seen this popular movie or heard about the popular movie Sinners that's right now doing gangbusters at the box office. That is a movie with the direct intent and directed messaging of white people are the devil. And black people are going to this movie and celebrating this movie. It's Birth of a Nation just in reverse, but on steroids. It has a very hostile, racist message towards white people. This anti-white racism needs to be spoken against. It's just as evil, it's just as divisive as the anti-black racism that ruled America. No one wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to argue like it's justified, and this is just, you fix racism with racism. Diversity, equity, inclusion, affirmative action. These are racist programs that say black people are inferior and we must lower standards. They can't do the same on the SAT. They can't get their GPAs together. They can't be on time. They can't be responsible. They can't stay in two-parent marriages and develop and raise their kids. We must lower all standards to accommodate them because we owe them this debt. That is racist. And it needs to be spoken against. And people need to draw a line in the sand and say, we're not doing this anymore. You're tearing apart our country. No different than what white racists and their anti-black bigotry tore apart this country. Why are we letting this happen all over again? We have to have a merit-based society. And I'm black, if forced to compete and earn our meals and earn what we eat based on merit, black people will do that. But as long as we keep handing them crutches and excuses, they will not. And that's where we've gone too far in this country.
And as loud as those voices are, I still believe that they are, and I'm not talking about race, but minority voices. I think they're louder. I think they get a lot more oxygen on the media in the media circus. But I go out and about, Jason, and I still believe, what I'm saying is I still believe that regardless of color, that a lot of Americans see through this garbage.
I do think a lot of Americans see through this garbage, but it's just like, look, there was a lot of Americans when anti-white or when anti-black racism was rampant. There were a lot of Americans that saw through the garbage but remained silent.
It's all about speaking up.
Yeah, and let the loud voices dictate and determine how American society worked. We're doing the exact same thing here. People are afraid to speak against it. If you're white, you'll be called racist. If you're black like me, you'll be called a coon, an Uncle Tom, a Sambo, a closeted Klansman, or the face of white supremacy. No, I have a biblical worldview. We're all image bearers of God. And this whole racial dynamic, this racial division that they're promoting in America, I have to stand against. It harms all of us. Black people are denied the truth that will set them free and will help them advance. All problems as it relates to black Americans, if there's a problem, it's all connected to the destruction of the family, period, end of story. That's the problem. We never get to talk about it because we always have to talk about the evil, racist white man that's anything that happens to black people. It has to be the evil, racist white man. It can't be your values. It can't be your behavior. It can't be your family structure. It's the evil white man. That's a joke.
The same individuals that claim that they want to have these discussions, you invite them to have these discussions. And for those few, there are very few of them that will actually come to the microphone after they get invited. And then I start the conversation. I say, well, let's talk about crime in America. Within 5 minutes, I'm a racist. Within 5 minutes, I'm a racist. Just because I want to talk about, I want to get to, I don't want to blame. I just want to get to some root causes and talk. And I don't believe it has to do with color. I believe it has to do with culture. And I believe it has to do with absence of fathers within the home. And you've been talking about this for years.
The lack of emotional control, the feminine emotional behavior to anything perceived as disrespect. This all comes from an absence of male leadership, a male father in the home. The statistics are overwhelming. In people locked up and incarcerated, you go look at the family structure, and it doesn't care what color you are. The prisons are overrun with people from destroyed families, period. And then you toss in drug abuse. Drugs, absent father. Those are the two key indicators. And when there is no father in the home, there's more likely to be drugs in the home and people reliant on drugs in the home because there's so much stress and anxiety when you remove that man. It's a patriarchal worldview that I have, and people that are having successful lives, people that are having successful marriages, they're not in objection to a patriarchal worldview. Black people, we've bought into a matriarchal worldview, a baby mama culture, and we're paying the consequences of that, and we get to remain in denial of our poor behavior and the destruction of family by saying, nope, it's white racism. Oh, there's all this collusion. It's a joke.
Jason Whitlock, I'm locking the door. I'm keeping you for another segment because I want to dive deep into what's going on this weekend. Y'all need to get to Roll Call 3.0 this weekend. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what you're going to hear. FearlessRollCall.com. Go there now and go ahead and get ready to sign up for tickets. We're going to continue the conversation in a moment with Jason Whitlock in studio with us. It's The Murphy Show on Super Talk. Hey, friends, if you're ever down Franklin Way, one of these days, one weekend, we'll not have all these protests in Franklin. Although my girl Holly at Savory Spice has documented all of the great protests. I think I told you this, that she was at Savory Spice, which is located just by Gray's Pharmacy, just off the square in Franklin. And they've got a wonderful shop down there, and I'm going to tell you about them in just a second. But she said she was taking photos of some of the protests a couple of weeks ago, and I asked what they were protesting, and she said everything. They're protesting everything. I said, are they buying anything? She said, no, they need to get in the shop and buy some spices from Savory Spice. Get something to eat, you might be less angry. Savory Spice has got it all, folks. I mean, this is upping your spice game. And when I say that, here's what I mean. So, you come to a point in life where you don't buy the cheapest steak just because it's the cheapest and you only got a couple of bucks in your pocket. Maybe you're buying a little bit better cut of meat, a better cut of salmon. Maybe you're doing something with the family that costs you a little bit more money. Point is, you up your food game. And if you up your food game, you want to up your spice game. You do that at Savory Spice. They've got exotic stuff. They've got international flavors. They've got the stock seasonings that you need. It's all right there in Franklin. They're good people, locally owned, and I absolutely love Holly David and the rest of the crew. Up the spice game by going to Savory Spice. Just off the square in Franklin. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You know, Dr. Mitchell, we call him Dr. Mitch around these parts because he's so good. Don't get a stitch. Call Dr. Mitch. That's what the old saying is. But Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they truly do want to see you, and they understand that making a decision about surgery is a very, very serious decision, and you ought to make it very carefully. Now, they don't suggest that surgery is always off the table. What they would suggest is that you need to exhaust all available opportunity before you commit to surgery, and that's why they offer you, in celebration of the 47th President of the United States of America, they're 47% off their spinal decompression. That's non-surgical spinal decompression. It's what I have used to alleviate my lower back pain. There's a reason that I can play the bad golf that I play, and that's because of the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Painisbad.com. Once again, painisbad.com. 615-246-5009. Once again, 615-246-5009. You can live a pain-free life through the Wellness Institute of Nashville.
A fighter jet rolls right off into the sea. 2 bodies found in Donaldson. And Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he wants to cut Nashville's grocery sales tax rate, but he can't. These stories and more coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We were talking about pre-plan. I mean, it's such a pre-planned opportunity for Freddie O'Connell. I mean, 4 days before he announces a tax increase, he starts talking about how much he wants to decrease taxes for the citizens of Davidson County. If he could. Here's a thought. Don't increase their property tax. There's a great way to keep taxes low for the citizens of Davidson County. But you're going to do it anyway, aren't you, Freddie? And you're going to lie about it to the people of Nashville. You're going to say, oh, we're just getting it back right. We're just getting it back to even. No, you're not. That's what the Truth in Taxation Act does, that forces you to go down on the rate when your property tax assessment goes up by 45%, which is what just happened. I know the math, Freddie. I know the math. We'll continue with Jason Whitlock coming up in just a moment. He is host of the Fearless Podcast and host of the big event coming to Nashville May 2nd and 3rd this weekend, Roll Call 3.0. We're talking all about that in just a moment. Here comes the news with Super Talk 99.7's Ken Weaver right now.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in Nashville, investigators working to identify 2 bodies found in Donaldson. Police say these men were killed. This is a homicide investigation. They just don't have any suspect information. U.S. Navy says a fighter jet rolled right off an aircraft carrier and into the Red Sea earlier today.
The incident occurred as the $70 million jet was being towed from the hangar bay of the aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman. Both the fighter jet and the tow tractor rolled off the carrier deck and into the Red Sea. 2 crew members, one on board the FA-18 and another inside the tractor, jumped out in time. But officials say one sailor suffered a minor injury.
Back here in Nashville, it's day 5 of the public corruption trial of former Tennessee Speaker of the House Glenn Cassida and his top aide, Cade Cothran. Here's Channel 4's Stacey Cameron.
Now, late this morning, federal prosecutors called one of their star witnesses, former state representative Robin Smith. She's one of the co-conspirators of Cassida and Cothran, who the government alleges used that constituent mail program to commit bribery, money laundering, and and fraud. She's on the stand now testifying to the jury how that all unfolded.
Also in Nashville, Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he wants to bring the grocery sales tax rate below 6.25%. But Fox 17 says the mayor says he can't right now because of the technicality. The law passed by the legislature last year pertains to counties and municipalities lowering their grocery sales tax rate, not metropolitan areas, which is how Nashville operates. So Mayor O'Connell says he's going to propose changes to that law. And a car seat manufacturer is closing up shop in Tennessee. Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development says 80 facilities in Murray and Henderson counties have already started layoffs, with more than 400 jobs total to be lost by the time these facilities are permanently closed in June. And we're learning new details about one of the victims killed when a 30-year-old man allegedly drove an SUV into a crowd at a Filipino Heritage Festival in Vancouver, Canada on Saturday.
A teacher who was also a school counselor has now been identified as one of the 11 killed. Kira Salim worked at 2 schools southeast of Vancouver. The school district saying in a statement that Salim had a powerful impact on children. 32 people were hurt when the car plowed into the crowd. Kai G. Adam Lowe, the alleged driver, has a history of mental health issues and run-ins with police.
That's Alex Stone reporting, and the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a crash off on the right shoulder. TDOT says it's 40 eastbound right after Broadway. And then on the South Loop, right lane blocked. 40 eastbound between 4th Avenue, exit 210C, and the 2440 downtown split. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, back after it. Hour number 2, Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being around with us. We've got lots to get into today. There's a rally coming up this Thursday. I'm going to be a part of this rally. Well, I'll be there. I won't claim that I'm going to be a part of it, except that I know all of these guys that are conducting the rally. It starts at 9 o'clock in front of the Nashville Public Library. It is an effort to convince Mayor Freddie O'Connell there's enough people in Davidson County and in the metro area that are paying attention to his tax increase proposal that is set to go down at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, that he needs to reconsider it. Now, Freddie is we have scheduled, he is on the books to be here at 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, and I hope that he is. And we have questions about crime in the city. We have questions about a lot of other things, but that is to come this coming Thursday. This Friday, I am pleased to announce that we'll be broadcasting from 3rd and Lindsley from 3 until 7 o'clock, anticipating the huge event being hosted by Jason Whitlock. It's called Roll Call 3.0. It's in Nashville this Friday and Saturday. And Jason remains in studio with us to talk about this event, which, I mean, I feel like we've been talking about the nature of the event. When you talk about culture, when you talk about homes that involve fathers and mothers, when you talk about spirituality and men of a faith-based nature expressing their faith, this is what it's all about. I don't need to tell you because you're the host. Talk to us.
Yeah, when we talk about the need for uncomfortable conversations, that's what Roll Call is somewhat about, particularly Friday night. Friday night, Tucker Carlson and I will have a conversation at 3rd and Lindsley that will be amazing. And it'll be about the things that I'm talking about on this show as it relates to, like, hey, man, there's an anti-white racism problem in America that no one wants to talk about publicly. We're going to talk about it publicly. We're going to talk about all the things going on in the culture that are evil and wicked and secular. We're going to have an amazing conversation. Randy Houser is going to sing country music for us at 3rd and Lindsley and entertain us. Steve Byrne, comedian, is going to do stand-up. How often do conservatives get to have the greatest event for a weekend in Nashville? This is a rare opportunity. Comedian who's terrific, Steve Byrne. Country music star, Randy Houser. Tucker Carlson, the most provocative, insightful journalist working in America, and then yours truly, who I believe is right there with Tucker Carlson. And so this is an awesome opportunity. Go to fearlessrollcall.com. That's a VIP event on Friday. Fearlessrollcall.com. Use the promo code 997. You can get 50% off those tickets for that event Friday that starts. Doors will open at 6 p.m. The event will start at 7 p.m. There's an opportunity. If you want to ante up, you can meet Tucker Carlson, hang with us backstage. If you just want to be in the room at the event, hear the music, hear the conversation, laugh your butt off with Steve Byrne, VIP tickets half off with the promo code 997. Then on Saturday at Rocketown, we have the 3rd annual Roll Call event. I've brought in some of my favorite speakers, some of my favorite ministers. We got great music from Damian Horn. We got Pastor Corey Brooks coming in from Chicago with his guys. Corey Brooks spoke at the RNC this past year. But you're going to get inspired. And the Saturday event is just for men. The Friday VIP event is for men and women. It's a great date night. But this entire weekend, and then Saturday night, we close things out with a post party at Lee and Julie Beeman's home here in Nashville. The Duggar Band's going to perform. Tickets for that, half off. Go to fearlessrollcall.com. Use the promo code 997. You can get half off your entry into that event. This is an awesome opportunity. Nashville is pretty left, pretty woke,
pretty blue.
How often is the best event, the best entertainment in Nashville directed at you, at conservatives, at people with a patriotic worldview, an America First worldview? This is a rare opportunity, and the tickets, particularly with this promo code, even without the promo code, but with the promo code half off, this is really affordable, great entertainment, a weekend for you and your wife, Friday night and Saturday night, a event during the day, Saturday, just for men. You don't want to miss this. You're not going to get very many opportunities like this where you can be surrounded by like-minded people and be entertained, tremendously entertained, with things that come from your perspective and your worldview.
I love the bookend where on Friday night and on Saturday night, invite the wife, have a great time, enjoy yourself, have a great celebration. But I also love the fact that you unashamedly say, hey, look, the roll call is a men event. And for those wondering, why is that so important?
Because men have fallen down in our job. We have failed to protect the patriarchy. We've failed to protect the things that made America great, and we need to have conversations amongst ourselves about how we're going to fix this. The level of courage that it takes, and I'm not calling women weak, but they're women. They choose safety over freedom. A lot of times it's in their nature. They have a womb. They develop babies. There's a level of courage that men have to muster if we're going to protect women and children. There's a conversation men must have, and we must inspire and encourage each other to stand our ground, quit apologizing for being men, quit apologizing for being Christians, quit apologizing for believing in male leadership. And so there's some conversations we have to have amongst ourselves. Iron sharpens iron. And these spaces where men can have these conversations, be inspired, and then carry that back into our homes, our communities, back to our kids. It's important that men do this so that women can play their proper role and not be asked to take the kind of risk that men, because, you know, nobody wants to be called all these kinds of names. No one wants to be vilified and demonized for believing in a world that's not controlled by racism, believing in a world that's not controlled by the abortion industry, that's not controlled by pornography. You know, these are, as men, we have to stand up and say, hey, enough is enough. Children, we're robbing them of their innocence. We're making them more vulnerable. It's a man's job to stand up and say, hey, not on my watch. And so, look, we're going to entertain you Friday night. We're going to entertain you and celebrate with you Saturday night. But Saturday during the day, we need some straight up man talk and encouragement. I need you all again. And I shared this. I was on a Chris Hand show. I need you all to come to this event. And that's why these tickets are so affordable. I'm going to take the financial hit here. I have anteed up, and I've talked a couple of my friends into anteing up in a big way. So all of this is highly accessible for you. You're not going to break your budget. You're not going to cost your wife the pair of shoes or the purse you promised her. You're not going to cost your kids their summer camp or any of that. Hop with this 997 promo code. You can get into the Tucker event for $100. Bring you and your wife $100 each, $200. You can come to Roll Call for $50. We're going to feed you a great lunch. Promo code 997, fearlessrollcall.com. It'll be the funnest weekend you've had here in Nashville with a bunch of like-minded people.
You know, as we wind this down, and I so encourage, and several of you are asking, and he just said it, fearlessrollcall.com. Jason just mentioned it, fearlessrollcall.com. Do not wait. 997 is the promo code. You know, when I first started I was in my 20s when I started talk radio, and I thought I knew everything, and I still think I knew everything, but I know a hell of a lot more than I used to. But I allowed liberals to use my love of freedom against my belief in the culture. And what I mean by that is I believe that people should be allowed to live freely as they choose to live. But slowly that turned from, well, I don't need a man in the house, or my husband can stay home and the woman can go, whatever it might be, to break down the nuclear family. I watched that slow erosion, and somewhere along the way, it didn't become, I want to be free to live as I choose. If you do not support this, vocally support this, you are somehow an ist. You're a misogynist, you're a sexist, you're a racist, and they began using their erosion of American culture as a bludgeon against people that believed differently. And that's what I love so much about what you're doing.
The other thing that is obvious, Matt, is that they've built a world where they try to remove the consequences of their choices.
Amen.
There are consequences to all choices. It's, hey, Jason, you're overweight. Therefore, you can't wear size 36 jeans. So you can't do it. You're overweight. That's a consequence. So gay marriage. You want to get married, two men want to get married. Well, here's a consequence of marrying a man. You can't have a kid because you can't produce one.
Right.
But no, let's eliminate that consequence and make it legal for them to have kids. There are consequences to all of our choices. And so I'm fine with people making choices. But marriage is between a man and a woman. You want to choose to be gay. Okay, you're saying, I'm not going to be married. That's what you're saying, because marriage is between a man and a woman. For me, there was a time I had a very secular lifestyle and a very sexually promiscuous lifestyle. Used to love to go to strip clubs. Used to love to chase young women. A consequences of that was I wasn't fit for marriage. And so I didn't get married. I suffered that consequence, and I regret it. I wish that I had changed up my behavior earlier, hadn't cost myself some relationships. But there's a price I had to pay for my immoral decisions. Mm-hmm. And we can't build a society where, hey, you want to overeat? Here's a pill for that. You want to get involved in a same-sex marriage? Here's a baby or 2 or 3 we'll let you adopt. Here's a womb we'll let you rent to have that baby. You want to have unprotected sex constantly and have kids. Well, we got a abortion pill that you can take the next day, or abortion clinic that we can erase the consequences for your irresponsible behavior. We can't live in a culture. You can't build a sustainable culture if no one has to suffer the consequences of their decisions.
I mean, look at, I don't know if you saw, the Nashville General Assembly passed the success sequence legislation.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that were fighting back against success, it's
Go to high school.
Yeah, just graduate high school,
get married.
Don't have a baby before you get married.
Yeah.
Get an education. You get a career. Don't get married until you're ready. Maybe hold off on sex until you find an appropriate partner. I mean, these types of things, we just want to teach basic.
Wear a condom. How about that?
Right. If you choose to do, there's right, and we want to teach these things, and there were people in the legislature fighting back, saying it was racist. What?
They're trying to build a society that has no consequences. They want to be God. They want you can do whatever you want to do, and there are no consequences for it. We've got a remedy for all of your immorality. That you can't build a sustainable society that way.
You've said it better than I've always said. They want government to be God, but you're right. They want to be God.
No question.
All right, fearlessrollcall.com is the website. One quick question about so one gentleman's asking age restrictions on young men. What would you
18,
say?
18, I would say. But on Saturday, I'd bring your 14-year-old boy. He needs to see you with other men worshiping,
That's what he said.
celebrating
God. Some raise kids. I want to raise a man. He said. I think he said his son is 10.
I'll definitely bring him. He needs to see you celebrating God with other men. He definitely needs to see that. There wouldn't be anything better than that. And plus, we'll feed him a great lunch from Mission Barbecue.
And if you're at 3rd and Lindsley, you're going to be serving some alcohol. There's that's an adult event.
That's for you and your wife.
Right.
That's if some of you may be dating your future wife. Bring her. Your wife or your future wife may want to bring her man. And again,
what's the over under on? Whether Tucker wears socks or not. What do you think?
I think it's under because it's pretty hot here. And so I would take the under on that. It's toasty. I got sweatpants on right now, and I regret it.
So Friday night, Jason Hauser sings comedy from Steve Burke. Randy Hauser, not Jason Hauser. Jason Whitlock is going to host Tucker Carlson Friday night. Well worth it at 3rd and Lindsley. And then Rocketown all day. Speakers like Alan Jackson, Corey Brooks, Doug Wilson. Duggar Band's going to sing that afternoon. They're going to sing that night at the VIP event. It's all at fearlessrollcall.com.
Fearlessrollcall.com, promo code 997. Do it right now, 50% off.
Jason, I'll see you Friday.
Thank you, Matt. See you.
And as an aside, I'll be broadcasting up until 7 o'clock. So you probably see me at 7 o'clock as you walk through the doors and sit down and get ready to go. It's 21 after the hour. There's Jason Whitlock back after this on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Is the foundation of your home a little iffy? Have you noticed? I mean, but I know you want to ignore it, right? You go down in the basement, or maybe you have to do something around the crawl space and you smell that musty and moldy smell, and you're thinking, well, that'll just go away because it's been raining a lot. Maybe it won't go away. Maybe it's a problem with your waterproofing, and maybe that problem is going to cause foundation issues. Or maybe you already have foundation issues and you need peace of mind as a result. You need to call USS, United Structural Systems. USS guarantees their best. And when I say that, they put their testimony where their mouth is, right? So they have almost 30,000 satisfied residential customers since 1994. That's a lot of customers that have depended on USS to keep their home stable and dry. Now they have the concrete polylift feature that they do as well. Just find out more about this by calling 615-488-7855. 488-7855, serving all of Middle Tennessee. Within the sound of my voice, they'll come to you, USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Efficient Heating and Cooling. My man, Jeff Eddy, understands what happens when spring becomes summer. More than most, right? Because Jeff and his team of qualified techs have been out and about maintaining the units at your home. And if you've not already done this, you need to get it in your life, folks, because summertime brings a strain on that AC system. And with that strain can come a potential breakdown. Let me talk to you for a second about the maintenance guarantee with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. With summer maintenance, if they have to come back, if they maintenance your unit, you call them out and they get out there and they clean the thing, and it's always under $125, no matter how many units you have at your residence, and oftentimes it's considerably less than that. But if they come out and they have to come back at any future time for something that goes down, they're going to service that unit for free. The service charge is completely waived on your unit. Now, get that maintenance scheduled today by calling Efficient at 615-784-4424. That's 784-4424. When things happen, and they do, I mean, there's a cycle on your AC unit. They're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They can recommend the right unit for you. Go online at efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net. Call Jeff Eddy if your AC is not ready, and Efficient.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Seeing reports about multiple injuries involving a school bus crash in Sumner County. This story and more at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So just to clarify, Friday night event at 3rd and Lindsley is, 18 up. Saturday night event, the VIP event at Julie and Lee Beeman's house, That's probably an adult event as well. You probably want to keep the game. But Saturday for you your young boys, as young as you want to bring them, if they can manage to be in a crowd with a bunch of men and you want to show off Christian, faith-based men celebrating the patriarchy, well, I mean, that's the place to do it at Rocketown. So I invite you to be there. I cannot be there on Saturday. I will be there Friday night. And for 5684 that asked, I wish I could be there on Saturday. I have a pre-existing engagement, but I'm going to be there Friday night and maybe Saturday night if things work out just right. So 27 minutes after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My man Tony Spain's in the house with Cabinet Solutions over there in the corner. I see you over there in the corner. He brought T-shirts?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Have you gotten your you got a medium? Give Ken Weaver a medium and tell him I'll pay for lunch if he tries one on.
I'll try it on.
I'd like to see that. On camera.
All right.
Okay. We'll do that right around Ninkampoop's in the news time. How about that?
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
All right. I'll try one on too, Ken.
All right.
I'm not afraid. I won't try a medium on. I'll try an extra large on. These are fine T-shirts, though. Tony has spared no expense with the T-shirts. They're good looking. They're those really soft, the kind. You sleep in a T-shirt. I sleep in a T-shirt.
Yeah, I don't do T-shirts in the bed.
You do anything?
I wear
underpants.
Got my
undergarments on. No, I'm not asking.
Yeah.
He gave me a look, and I don't want to know. I feel like if Weaver ever had to run out of a house due to a house fire, God forbid, it'd be a full moon running across the backyard. At least that's what I wanted.
There might be.
Every night as he's strutting to the bed, Freebird's playing.
Especially if it's a wrestling night.
Freebird. A bird in the hand is what? Especially if it's a wrestling night. Hey, honey. Hey, you want to wrestle?
I win.
It's like that Bobby Bear song, The Winner. Okay, I lose. You're the winner. That's what my wife says. Anyway, let's. There's a couple of news items I want to get to in just a moment. To include, I'm mangling the last name again. Ken, is it Giuffre? Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre. Several of you have talked about this, and I'm going to continue talking about it because it's absolutely epic. Plus, I want to just go over, because you're not hearing any of this in the mainstream media. The mainstream media wants you to believe that Donald Trump's Justice Department waltzed into a courtroom in front of a judge that Donald Trump doesn't like, that Donald Trump doesn't agree with, and just for no reason whatsoever, because this judge has a different take, a different position on the issue of illegal immigration, that they just arrested this judge. They're arresting judges, y'all. Donald Trump's Department of Justice is just randomly, they arrested one in New Mexico. They arrested one in Wisconsin. Oh, they're arresting judges up out here. Do y'all know what this judge did? Oh, you probably don't, because no one will tell you. I will. Next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.4:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looking at at least a level 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather for some Middle Tennesseans north of I-40. Tell you more about it during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Smoky Bar News reporting a school bus crash with multiple injuries in Sumner County. Reports are this thing crashed into a creek, then flipped over on its side. This is the 400 block of Rockhouse Hollow Road. This report says there were children inside the bus when it crashed, multiple injuries, and at least one person trapped. Highway Patrol investigating. Videos circulating online of people claiming their drink was spiked in Nashville. But Channel 4 says police tell them there's been no uptick in suspected drink spiking cases. And if someone believes they've been a victim, they should go to the hospital to get checked. But Channel 4 says Vanderbilt University Medical Center told them they're not able to run tests for common drink spiking drugs. You can only get a full toxicology screening if you're a victim of sexual assault with law enforcement involvement. Well, the Sexual Assault Center in Nashville telling Channel 4 city leaders are working on easier ways to determine if your drink has been spiked.
But it's because we're shining a light on it and we're not shying away from it. We're saying we know that this has been a problem and we are doing our best to address it and figuring out how people can get tested, because we want to know just as much as anybody as a city how many people are being drugged. It's just proven to be a very difficult thing to figure out, but we are committed to working on coming up with a solution.
Yeah, Channel 4 says it's waiting for a response from the mayor's office. Bad news about jobs, 400 of them going away in Tennessee. Automotive seating manufacturer Adient says it's shutting down facilities in Murray and Henderson counties in June. Layoffs have already started. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a crash off on the right shoulder 40 eastbound after Broadway. Then on the south loop, the right shoulder block 40 eastbound between 4th Avenue, exit 210C, and the 2440 split downtown. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dadgummit, I forgot to ask Jason Whitlock how his bug problem was going on in his house. You know, he mentioned that he had bugs. He had been living in a condo, moved to a house, and he had bugs. You know, if you move in a house and that home has not had pest control from U.S. Pest for several months or even longer, then you're probably going to have bugs. And you probably need to know who to call. Did I just mention U.S. Pest? I certainly did. J.K. and Erica Brister are tops when it comes to protecting your home from those things that you don't want inside it. You want wanted visitors and wanted guests. What you don't want spiders. I mean, I am a spider phobe. That's called arachnophobia, ladies and gentlemen, and I have it. Ladybugs, ants, roaches don't bother me nearly as much as spiders, but they still bother me. Termites, they not only bother you, they bother your home. They can put significant damage on your home, and every home in Tennessee is threatened. You need 100% money-back guarantees and preventative and corrective service with U.S. Pest. Go to uspest.com. That's uspest.com for more information, or dial 590-1260. That's 590-1260 for our friends at U.S. Pest. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to talk to you for a moment about Stoltz Co. Let me tell you something. If you've not been to their website to see the quality of structures we're talking about they build at Stoltz Co., you need to go. I mean, so some folks say, hey, I think I'm going to put up a, one of these prefab buildings in my backyard. You know that's lowering the value of your home, right? I mean, it really is. Those prefabs that aren't, structured or moored to anything. What about you go to Stoltz Co. and you'll see the affordable, incredible options that they provide you in terms of post-frame buildings. These are fabulous buildings, quality stuff, and they can work to match the design of your home too in some of the structures that you're looking to build. And they are great at what they do at Stoltz Co. I mean, they can sit down with you, and these are customized structures, obviously. So they're going to sit down with you and work through exactly what you're looking for at Stoltz Co. To see some of the buildings, whether it's a barn dominium, perhaps it's an equestrian space, a garage, an event space, or much, much more at stoltzco.com. Let me spell it for you. STOLTZCO.com. Stoltzco.com, or call 615-622-5992, 622-5992 for Stoltz Co. All right, 615-737-9986. If you would like to get involved in the show, I've opened up the phone lines. They're always open, but sometimes we focus a little more than others. Oh, did y'all hear the conclave starting next week?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Me too.
I am excited. Who's our reporter going over there? Don't we have somebody going over there, Ken?
I thought we were going to send Chris.
Weber?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I should get my passport in order. Is it too late to do that?
I'm just imagining Chris Weber, who might be more of a curmudgeon than me, reporting from outside of the Vatican on the conclave.
Yeah, he'll be reporting from somewhere nice with a cocktail.
Sipping some vino.
Yeah.
Murphy, Weaver, I'm at another. I don't even know what they call bars over there. I'm at a bistro in downtown Rome, and from what I can see on the television, they're still talking about it.
Yeah, I'd find me a spot that had a good view of the rooftop where I could see the smoke. No smoke yet. That is all. Back to you.
That's right. I would also like to thank our fine sponsors who brought me on this trip to Italy. Cabinet Solutions. Tony, you want in on this? Tony's there. Tony might sponsor us. You never know.
Yeah.
Tony's not shaking his head. That's a couple. What's I don't know. 10 grand. What's 10 grand amongst friends?
10 grand that friends don't have.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true. Anyway, the conclave is starting on the 7th of May, so we're without a pope until then.
That's going to be something that day.
Tell you what, y'all think they got their house in order? I mean, what I love is that everybody that's seen that movie thinks they know how all of this works.
Yeah.
You've seen it, right, Weaver?
I've seen it.
I haven't seen it, so I have no clue.
I still don't know how it works.
They all get together and they vote, I think.
Yeah, they all get together and they vote on a pope. And there's several rounds of voting until finally everybody agrees on a pope.
Here's what I need Ken Weaver to investigate. This is your job, Weaver.
Okay, I'm on it, boss.
Do you have to be like a priest? You know how in the house...
You gotta be a cardinal.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, you've already investigated it.
Yeah. Well, that's from everything I've read.
Well, I was kind of hoping it would be like the House of Representatives. Oh. You know, like you don't have to be a House of Representatives member to be the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, that's right.
They could just vote anybody in. I was kind of hoping they could just vote anybody in.
Yeah.
I see here.
That would mean that you and I would have a shot, Weber. I guess you have to be Catholic.
Oh, well, boys, here's a new twist.
Uh-oh.
While technically any baptized Catholic male can be elected pope, in practice,
Male.
only cardinals have been selected.
Well, in practice, only House of Representative members have been selected Speaker of the House, but
very true.
You're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah. Let's see. Only cardinals have been selected since 1378.
So it's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Joe writes in and says, you got to be a cardinal that's at least 80 years old, apparently. My buddy Wayne, God rest his soul. He was my best friend in the world, and we lost him at the age of 33, and I miss him every day. But my best friend told me he was like agnostic, leaning atheist in college. I mean, big time. Well, but in his 20s, he refound his Catholic faith, and God bless him that he did. And he eventually taught at a Catholic school, and he was a God-fearing Catholic man the day he died. That said, I wasn't that up on Catholicism, and I went to Mass with him a couple Sundays that I would spend the weekend in Atlanta with him. And I'm like, and he was explaining to me, and you Catholics in the audience can tell me, that it's like part of the Mass is like they do it on the same days every year. Like the sermon, and I'm going to mangle this, and some people are screaming at the radio right now, but like there's a part of Catholic Mass that it's the same every day of the year. Like, and they like every day of the year, they do the same thing they did last year and the same thing they did the year before. And I asked Wayne, I was like, what's that all about? Because I come from the Baptist, and the Baptist, it's just whatever's on the preacher's mind. He's going to throw it down. And, little do I know, it's probably a lot of what's going on in the choir that he's talking about. Anyway, and Wayne said, well, you know what? When you've been doing anything for 2,000 years, you kind of figure it out. And that was his response. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, you do something for 2,000 years, you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. So you just go with it. I was like, oh, okay. So all you need to be is a good standing male Catholic.
Got to be baptized.
So at 4:43 Middle Tennessee time on this day of our Lord, Monday, April 28th, 2025, Ken Weaver?
Yes, sir.
I'm officially out.
Okay.
As a candidate for Pope.
All right.
I'd like to say I'm not disappointed.
I want it to happen while we're on the air.
I do too.
I want to see that white smoke right in the middle of the Murphy show.
Right, white smoke. But then you don't find out immediately. It's not like they bring them on out.
No, I think they come out on a veranda and wave to everybody.
Do they really?
I believe so.
And then they rename. Then they get to name themselves, right? I think this is correct.
They get to choose their name. All right, let's see.
All the Pope names in the history of popes. I want to know the weirdest Pope name. Because I mean, I guess they could just pick something off the, like they could do like Pope Doug if they wanted to.
I don't know. I don't know if there's. I think there's like a list of names that they can choose, but I'm not sure.
If I'm Pope, I'm infallible now.
You can do whatever you want.
Pope Dwayne. The fourth. But aren't you the first? I'm the fourth. Crazy Pope.
So once the white smoke is seen from the Sistine Chapel, the newly elected Pope will typically make their first public appearance on the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica within a few hours.
Okay.
So we'll see it.
Okay.
I mean, so let's say Murphy Show.
Wait, what's the time difference over there, Ken?
Oh, I got to look at
I mean, I'm just leaning on Weaver for all of the pertinent info.
I'm just sitting there talking like it's going to be Eastern time or something.
You're giving us the Pope dope is what you're doing.
What?
We go to Ken on the Matt Murphy. Let me tell you. Let me look at the camera. On the Matt Murphy show, for all of your Pope dope needs, Ken Weaver in the newsroom. I got nothing. Ken's got all of the straight dope on the selection of the Pope.
All right, so here we go. It is 4:44 p.m. right now in Middle Tennessee. It is 11:44 p.m. in Italy. So they're 7 hours ahead of us.
Oh, man, I don't think we're going to. You know who's going to get it? Hand. Dang it.
Brother Hand.
Hand's going to. I mean, that's just typical.
Yeah.
Typical. Hand gets all the good stuff. Or Benson, maybe. On the midday shows. I'm not getting because, I mean, they're not going to wait. I mean, they're not going to announce it at 11 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying?
We need to wait for the Murphy show.
Yeah. I mean, put a call in. You're influential. Call somebody, Weaver.
Yeah. I'd like to speak.
I'd like to speak to.
Let me speak to the fellas filling in for the Pope.
Hey, I don't know who it is, but I mean, somebody's filling in for the Pope, right? Can we talk to him? Who is it? Who? Steve. Well, let me talk to Steve then. What do you mean Steve's not available? Just let me talk to Steve. It's not like he's the Pope. He's the interim Pope.
And by the way,
he's the temp.
Where do you guys get that white smoke?
Yeah, what do you burn for that white smoke? I mean, because they do dark. I mean, if it's been a day, right? If they do a whole session and they burn the dark smoke, that means no Pope. I got that.
Probably using tires for that, the dark smoke.
Don't tell Greta.
It's a special mixture of chemicals, potassium chlorate, lactose, and pine resin that makes it white.
Pope dope right there.
Yeah.
In the newsroom. Giving you all the dope about the Pope on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And a gummy.
Goomies. All right. I hate to. I'm going with Pope Steve. I think if I would.
Pope Steve.
I would convert to Catholicism if the Pope comes out and says he's Pope Steve. Pope Steve the First. Or Doug. Frankly, any one-syllable name would work for me. I mean, really. Steve, Doug, Hank.
He needs to throw the third in there just cause.
Just to screw with him?
Yeah. Just be Doug the third.
Like the third? Well, who were the first two?
Never mind.
Well, if you don't know, you don't know. All right, on a more serious front, well, it's not so serious. I'm going to get into this. So the mainstream media is not telling you the story. And have y'all noticed that the MSM, including #NeverCNN, now I've not watched these jerks today. I'm falling down on the job. Normally I watch so you don't have to, but I'm watching local news today. But they're not talking as much about this judge as they were on Friday and Saturday. And I'm referring to, of course, the judge, Hannah Dugan.
Oh, you mean the judge they dragged out of her courtroom?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The judge that, she was just doing her job, Ken. And according to mainstream media on Friday and into Saturday, Donald Trump's arresting judges. They're just throwing them in jail for doing their job, for following the law. Let me tell you what this judge did. I might not get to it all in this segment, but I'm going to get to it. So I'm just going to walk down, and I want to thank my buddy over at National Review, Jim Garrity, because he had some of this timeline, and I filled in some of it as well. On March 18th, Eduardo Flores Ruiz was charged in Milwaukee County Circuit Court. Now, remember that name. That's the illegal alien that we're talking about. Eduardo Flores Ruiz was charged in Milwaukee County Circuit Court with 3 counts of battery, domestic abuse, and infliction of physical pain or injury. Flores Ruiz was accused of playing music too loudly in his home. The complaint then alleged that Flores Ruiz punched another person 30 times and then struck a woman who tried to break up the fight in the face. Y'all with me so far? Okay, so this dude is beating the crap out of other people and playing his music really loud. Immigration and Customs Enforcement identified Flores Ruiz as an illegal alien from Mexico who had already been issued an I-680 notice and order of expedited removal by the U.S. Border Patrol. That happened on January 16th, 2013, 12 years ago. Okay? Flores Ruiz was, quote, removed to Mexico through Nogales, Arizona, and that port of entry. Once you have an order of expedited removal, you can be deported without a court hearing because you have been determined inadmissible to the United States of America. In other words, there's no violation of any sort of due process. As soon as they get him, they can send him home. So any argument that Flores Ruiz had any right to stay in the country is moot. Does not exist. The U.S. government, through multiple presidents, had determined that he is not to be admitted or allowed to stay under any circumstances. And they originally did that during the Obama administration. ICE matched the fingerprints on their records with the fingerprint records for Flores Ruiz after he was arrested for domestic battery in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. Now, it is not unheard of, and I got some of this from National Review, and this is delicious. So, while it's not unheard of to have a false positive match on fingerprints in criminal cases, according to a 2011 study, the false positive rate was at 0.1%. So by a percentile of 99.9%, this is the guy. Y'all with me? So there is 0% reason, in my estimation, to doubt that Flores Ruiz in the Milwaukee courtroom was the same Flores Ruiz in the ICE database with an order of expedited, no holds barred, do not pass go, do not collect due process, get your ass out of the country, ICE removal. Members of ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations Task Force traveled to the courthouse on March 18th with Flores Ruiz arrest warrant in hand, intending to arrest him. As FBI Special Agent Lindsay Schomer laid out in a criminal complaint, law enforcement routinely executes warrants and makes arrests in the public areas of buildings such as the Milwaukee County Courthouse. The reason for this include not only the fact that law enforcement knows the location at which the wanted individual will be located, but also the fact that the wanted individual would have entered through a security checkpoint. And thus, we know the person is unarmed, minimizing the risk not only to law enforcement, but also to the public and the wanted individual. End of quote. So the arresting team consisted of an ICE officer, a Customs and Border Protection officer, 2 FBI special agents, and 2 DEA agents. All right, so 6 people total walked into the Milwaukee County Courthouse on March 18th, intending to arrest an individual and send them back home. I'll tell you the rest of the story, and it gets really squirrely, coming up in a moment at 53 after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, gang, it's Matt Murphy, and I'm giving you an update on the incredible Glock Store 5th Annual Open House, which is happening Saturday, May 31st. You might want to write that down on your calendar. It'll be here before you know it. Now, every year, Glock Store throws open the doors, and they welcome all of Nashville to come into town and come into the house and join in the fun. The open house is pretty incredible. It's famous for its raffles. This year, they're all day, nonstop, giving you the best chance to win all manner of goodies and great gear, including a customized Glock handgun. And even if you don't win the raffle, there are incredible deals on Glocks all day long. Deals so good, you just have to be there to believe them. I'll give you one, the Burrow Bullets Blowout, 9mm and 223 in 1,000-round tac packs and in a Burrow bullet ammo box. You will not believe the price, and you have to wait until the day of the event to find out the price. But these things are going to go fast because people love the Burrow bullets. They also have a brand new line of full auto rental rifles available, and I've done this, and it's pretty incredible. So just save the date, May 31st, Saturday from 10 until 2. Come by and say hello to yours truly and so many others. The Glock Store, the 5th Annual Open House, minutes away from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, especially on May 31st.
Monitoring reports of a school bus crash with multiple injuries in Sumner County. This story and more at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm going to have to suspend the rest of the story. I don't mean to keep you in suspense. So you know that you've got the dude that needs to get out of the country. You have an order of expedited removal. You have 6 agents that know he's at the courthouse on March 18th. Eduardo Flores Ruiz is his name. You have the FBI, the DEA, as well as an ICE officer and a Border Protection officer there, ready to go. What happens next is almost unbelievable, and the Democrats are defending this garbage. I'll tell you exactly what it is in a moment. Plus, Representative Scott Sapicki is going to give us our final legislative roundup when we return on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Storm chances moving in this week. We'll tell you about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Smoky Barn News is reporting a school bus has crashed and there are multiple injuries. It's in Sumner County. The bus apparently crashed into a creek and then flipped over on its side. This is the 400 block of Rock House Hollow Road. Reports say there were children inside the bus when it crashed and there may be some trapped. And THP is investigating. Here in Nashville, Metro Police working to identify 2 bodies found in Donaldson. Police say the men were killed, but they don't have any suspect information. Someone out for a walk discovered the bodies. Both men had been shot. Here in Nashville, Channel 17 says Mayor Freddie O'Connell wants to lower the grocery sales tax rate, but says he can't. A new state law makes it possible for counties and municipalities, but Nashville operates as a metropolitan government. So Mayor O'Connell says he's going to propose changing that state law. Some bad news about jobs in Tennessee, at least 400 going away with the announcement that automotive seating manufacturer Adient notified the state it will be shutting down facilities, one in Murray County and the other in Henderson County in June. And a Kansas City woman is being held on charges of fatally stabbing a first responder. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
It was a routine medical call about a person with an injured finger. The patient was loaded into an ambulance, and within minutes, the driver made a frantic call for help.
Other staff.
The audio comes from Broadcastify.
Medic 14 has a crew member that's been stabbed.
29-year-old firefighter paramedic Graham Hoffman would die of his injuries. Police are holding 39-year-old Shanetta Bossel. She has no felonies on her record, but was arrested last week on charges of biting a police officer. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Well, things may be looking up for home buyers this spring. Mortgage rates more than double what they were in 2021, yet realtors say more sellers are listing, giving buyers more options. The National Association of Realtors says the number of homes for sale increased almost 20% last month from a year ago. And here's a change. 44% of home purchases now involve some concessions from the seller, according to Redfin. The big question, as always, is if and when the Fed will lower interest rates. In Nashville, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate is currently around 6.8%. And despite some missing team members at the White House celebration for the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles celebration, it was a large and festive gathering. President Trump praising the 2025 Super Bowl championship team, even singling out the team's head of security as someone special.
You know, this is a guy, they say he loves Trump. This is a guy, and I had Saquon give him a big, beautiful hat last night because I've been hearing about this guy. He likes Trump. His name is Dominic DeSandro, Big Dom, and he's sort of a legend.
Now, the notable absences included quarterback Jalen Hurts. While the missing teammates did not call it a boycott, they did blame scheduling conflicts for not taking part today. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, police reporting a crash 24 eastbound after Briley Parkway and then 40 eastbound at Jefferson Street. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ninkampoop's in the news coming up at 5:38 today. Ken Weaver will be wearing a medium-sized shirt during Ninkampoop's in the news.
To wear a medium-sized shirt.
That was his promise to us.
I hope my muscles don't rip it.
Then you will be the naked man story. You could end up.
Only I'm not from Florida.
This might. Well, naked man from Oklahoma. That's almost as good.
Or worse.
Depending on the point of view. That's on the way. Representative Scott Spiggy on the way to give us our final legislative rundown. Real quick, I do want to finish this real quick, and I won't belabor it, right? But it is a fascinating story. And there's a reason that you will see the mainstream media drop this story like a hot potato, and they're slowly doing it. Not even slowly doing it. They're swiftly doing it. There are some orange man bad people that will decide that this is awful and horrible and just the worst thing ever, considering that a judge by the name of Hannah Dugan was arrested last Friday, as a result of interfering with a legal court proceeding, interfering with an investigation. March 18th, Eduardo Flores Ruiz was charged in Milwaukee County Circuit Court with 3 counts of battery, domestic abuse, and infliction of physical pain or injury. The ICE agents secured his identification, and they were well aware, and we went over this. And so the arresting team of officers, ICE officer, a Customs and Border Protection officer, and 2 FBI agents and 2 DEA agents went to the courthouse. The agents were generally dressed in plain clothes and intended to effectuate the arrest in a low-key and safe a manner as possible. ICE and other federal law enforcement officials making arrests inside of the courthouse, but outside of the courtroom is legal, and it has been established multiple times as precedent. Milwaukee Democrat officials don't like ICE making arrests inside of the courthouse. On April 4th, before the arrest of Flores Ruiz or Dugan, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley argued ICE should not arrest wanted immigrants into the courthouse. However, they are able to do so, and from the moment Judge Dugan learned that ICE agents were in the courthouse, she apparently insisted they did not have authority to arrest Flores Ruiz. Judge Dugan approached members of the arrest team in the public hallway. According to Judge A, whose courtroom, and he's not named, it's just Judge A, or he or she, located adjacent to Judge Dugan's courthouse, witnesses uniformly reported that Judge Dugan was visibly upset and had an angry, confrontational demeanor. Judge Dugan addressed deportation officers and asked Officer A if he was present for a court appearance. When Officer A responded no, Judge Dugan ordered him to leave the courthouse. Deportation Officer A stated that he was there to effectuate an arrest. Judge Dugan asked if Deportation Officer A had a judicial warrant. Officer A said, no, I have an administrative warrant. Judge Dugan then stated Officer A needed a judicial warrant. This isn't true, by the way. Officer A was in a public space and said he had a valid immigration warrant and would not leave. Judge Dugan then asked to see the administrative warrant. Officer A offered to show it to her. Judge Dugan demanded Officer A speak to the chief judge in the case. After some delays, the entire team was finally able to reach the chief judge in the Milwaukee County Court. They went to a more private area to speak to the judge on the phone. During that conversation, the chief judge stated he was working on a policy that would dictate locations where they could effect an arrest. At the time, the chief judge indicated the hallways were public areas and that they could arrest individuals in the hallways. The ICE team had the green light. There was no indication of anything improper or illegal about the arrest. However, while they were on the phone with the chief judge, the courtroom deputy recalled that inside of the courthouse, Dugan ordered Flores Ruiz to sit himself in the jury box rather than in the gallery. At that point, she then advised him to exit the courtroom from the jury room door, which was a non-public area of the courthouse. These events were highly unusual for several reasons. The courthouse deputy had previously heard Dugan tell people not to sit in the jury box, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom line is this, that she actively knew that ICE was coming to arrest this individual and actively removed him to a private area of her choosing in order to avoid arrest. This woman was acting in an obstructive manner and deserved to be arrested. And you won't hear about her on the court. You won't hear about her on television shows anymore because the media knows this, and they don't want to tell you that story. But I did want to tell you that story, and I appreciate Representative Scott Spicky being with us to talk about some of the wins in the 114th General Assembly. Hello, Scott Spicky.
How's everybody doing today?
How are you?
Fantastic.
You look great.
Thank you.
You look refreshed. Look like you got a great weekend of sleep.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the legislative session this week.
Back to work already.
I mean, you probably got hay to bale.
Yes.
I don't know if you're doing that yet.
A lot of it, yes. If the weather will break.
How's how would you rate the session?
Outstanding. I've been up there 7 years, Matt. This is the best year we've had as a General Assembly.
Tell me why.
Well, I'll run through some things here, and you stop me anytime you want to, right? Because I want everybody to hear what we've done, some of the accomplishments. First of all, in health, we've added $1.5 billion in new dollars for health and social services, nursing home providers, behavioral health, and dental care for those on TennCare. We've removed barriers for cancer patients to access recommended medications. So you don't have to go through a procedure anymore. The doctor can prescribe the cancer medication that will solve their problem immediately. We've expanded prenatal screenings to protect mothers and babies. We've protected religious freedom for healthcare workers. Remember, during COVID, they were trying to force healthcare workers to take a shot or a vaccine. Now we give them the ability to say no. That's in healthcare.
Well, I would note that in terms of barriers for terminally ill patients or for cancer patients, there's still no medical marijuana available for those patients in the state of Tennessee. That's sad, but true.
That'll be something we'll have to take up and consider. I don't think anybody has a problem with medical marijuana for certain cases. I think it's how do you keep the genie in the bottle. That's what I think.
That's fair.
That's what I think.
No, that's fair.
And I think if we can come up with a way for the prescriptions to be made for those on terminal cancer or terminal pain, that they are allowed to access that, I don't think anybody's going to be against that.
Well, I do think that, to make the case as I have made for medical marijuana in a structured format, California was the worst thing to happen in order to try to make that case because it was an absolute joke.
Yeah, it's a train wreck
out there. I mean, it was a free-for-all, and it was essentially recreational that they called medical, and it was just it was an absolute joke.
That's the thing. I mean, we know terminal care, things like that, yes, but, a headache, no.
Right.
And so you got to figure out how to craft that legislation. And to date, they haven't figured out how to do it.
In which, the whole headache argument, that's, what, I'll probably be on that side of the argument, but come at that honestly and just admit to Scott Sapicki that you want to have an argument about recreational use of marijuana. And Sapicki's probably going to disagree with you on that. But, don't be dishonest with it.
That's correct. Law and order, we had a big year. Savannah's law to establish a new domestic violence registry, that's been passed. The Peace Act to combat hate crimes and improve public safety, tougher penalties for THC distribution to minors. We created the Human Smuggling Offense Network. We also expanded penalties for sex offenders and criminalized generative artificial intelligence involving minors. That is those Photoshop things you see where they put a minor's kid's face on a body, and then they're publishing them out there, and it's causing a lot of problems. So we escalated the
we didn't talk a lot about that when that was moving through, but this is it's one of those things. I laugh because it's an issue that I never thought we would have to deal with, but AI has become so real
and pervasive
that you're now seeing real faces, and and you think these are the real people, and when it happens to innocent children, I mean that. Maybe there's a free speech argument on one side, but when some of the sexual predators are doing it for children, I mean, it's a no-brainer for you guys.
And there was testimony in committee that I watched that was gut-wrenching to listen to a young lady that this happened to. and basically just ruined her life. And so we stepped up to the plate and strengthened those. Children and families, we increased access to child care, ensured children use bathroom facilities that correspond to their biological sex, established pro-life protections for pregnant mothers, and then banned the red 40 in schools, which is one of those dyes that causes ADD, ADHD, things like that.
And y'all were on the front end. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that was one of his banned dyes that it's going to be banned nationwide by next year. And y'all were in front of that.
That's right. And there's about 3 or 4 other dyes that we're going to go after next year. Representative Elaine Davis carried that. And she just didn't want to upset the apple cart too much, but she wanted to get this one across the finish line, which is very big for us.
The biological sex piece, were you surprised that many Democrats fought that?
Yes.
I mean,
I don't understand it. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, and if you want to allow boys to use girls' bathrooms and have those family bathrooms, it's one stall, you can lock it and that's fine. But don't allow access for males to go into female bathrooms that are multiple, or girls or females to go into male bathrooms that are multiple. Just stay away from that whole thing.
And I've argued, all I watch are conservatives and libertarians moving on the issue and trying to be as graceful and as forgiving and understanding as possible. In other words, you're like, okay, if we find these unique one-off circumstances, we can make specific accommodations for these one-off. And that's not enough for these people anymore. They're like, no, you can't do it that way. You have to abuse the rights of our little girls.
That's correct.
And that's just a line in the sand that most common sense Tennesseans aren't going to cross.
That's correct, and that's why we're Tennessee.
Sure.
We're Tennessee.
Sure.
Education had a really big year. We started off with the Education Freedom Scholarship. We banned wireless communications, so cell phones during instructional time. We did protect free speech for our students. You know, that was a problem we had with anti-Semitism, and then other college students wanting to make sure that they had their ability to defend their speech. We increased more recess for children. That's a bill that's very near and dear to my heart. I got to carry that one. We created the Federal Education Deregulation Task Force to deal with no more Federal Department of Education. We required parental notice for school threats. And then lastly, the success sequence in family life curriculum of if you go through life in this way, your chances of success increase exponentially.
We had a good friend of the show, Jason Whitlock, on, host of Fearless Podcast. He's bringing in Tucker this weekend, and I'm going to be a part of that. But I was talking to him about this, that I am fascinated at some of the hills Democrats want to die on when it comes to just common sense. Success sequence, nobody's telling you what you have to do. We're just giving you some information. Hey, you know what? If your parents aren't teaching you this, and frankly, the parents should be.
Correct.
But this is a good opportunity for us to let you know that this is what statistics show. Do you know how much better prepared you're going to be for life if you graduate from high school?
That's correct.
Or you get a secondary education, or if you go to a trade school, or if you wait to have a child until after you're married. It's just, for most of us, it's common sense. And nobody's telling you have to. Just, hey, you're going to be better set up for life. That was another issue that I'm like, who are the Democrats that are screaming and yelling about this?
Well, if you want to do successful things in life financially, you do what successful people financially do, right? If you want to lead a successful life and have the most opportunities for you, then lead this life curriculum, right? Graduate high school, go to college, go to community college, go to a TCAT center, join the military, and then get married. And then after you get married, have children, and you lead a successful life because you don't upset that apple cart. And then lastly, we went after the last final, in my opinion, we put the dagger into DEI in the state of Tennessee. We prohibited local governments and public universities from making hiring decisions based on race, religion, sex, national origin, age, or disability. We prohibited race-based discrimination in higher ed admission, scholarship, and financial aid decisions. We ended race-based selection for membership of state boards, and we prohibited state and local governments and public universities from having DEI departments.
How is it, and I get it, I'm almost asking a rhetorical question. Local governments and public universities for making hiring decisions based on race, religion, sex, national origin, prohibited race-based discrimination in higher ed. How is that not covered by the Civil Rights Act?
That is the question that's the $1 million question that we asked in committee and asked, and nobody could really give us a definite answer. And so we said, okay, We're going to openly define it to say you shall not do this. So there's no vague ambiguity. This is what the law says. You cannot do this, period.
Well, because it's open racism.
Yes. If you're looking to hire somebody or promote somebody, and you're not looking at what their character or what they bring to the table, the first thing out of your mouth is what color they are, how old they are. We fought this battle in the 60s.
If that's a defining criteria, I agree with you. And if that's a defining criteria for whether or not you get a job, it is inherently sexist or racist or whatever, discriminatory in some way or fashion. 21 after the hour, we'll continue with Scott Sapicki. Several of you are asking questions of Representative Sapicki. I'll give him a heads up on one of them. Ask Mr. Sapicki how the House speakers snuck in $8 million for local primary elections into the budget in the 11th hour after the Republican establishment machine argued that the primary bill didn't need a fiscal note and skipped the fiscal study. I'll ask the question
We
next.
have an answer.
I bet you do. On Super Talk 99.7 W10. Grace Point Healthcare, affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. They are a direct pay provider. Now, what does that mean? Well, that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to foot all the bill because you can file with your insurance company for reimbursement. At the same time, it does mean that all treatment decisions are made directly between you and your doctor, and you know exactly what you're paying. The medical industry is something fascinating, but because of the influence and the interference, frankly, with the insurance companies, we don't know what we pay for medical care anymore. Well, you know exactly what you pay at Grace Point Healthcare. That's very important to me, especially when you enrolled in the Smart Care plan. The basic Smart Care plan is $69 a month, and you get unlimited office visits throughout the course of the year, plus free basic labs and diagnostic testing with the basic Smart Care plan. That is solid information, and it's rock bottom in terms of pricing. At Grace Point Healthcare, there's no long wait times either, and you communicate directly with your doctor about all your healthcare decisions, and he's trying to treat the cause. He's not treating symptoms. He's treating what's going on behind the symptoms, which is so great to know. Grace Point Healthcare, it's a reason that we say that their modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. You really can't afford exceptional health care. 599-6868, 599-6868.
At least 2 injured in a school bus crash in Sumner County. This story and more coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, we got about 5 more minutes with our man, Representative Scott Sapicki. He's kind of our go-to guy. I don't know how I think he picked the short straw, honestly, how he got stuck with us.
Well, it was actually Ken Weaver.
Weaver's going to don a medium.
He's never told you about us.
No.
How we know each other?
No.
He was the bat boy when I played for the Nashville Sounds.
What do you think about that?
Now he had his facial hair back then, and he hadn't shaved since I saw him last time in '92.
Most people don't know this. If you're watching on Talk TV right now, and you can see Ken Weaver, and then you see Scott Sapicki. Most people don't realize Scott Sapicki is 78 years old. Most people don't know that. He looks great. Played back for the Sounds back in the 70s.
I didn't
right?
play with Shoeless Joe.
When did you play with when were you with the Sounds?
Frank Thomas, 92. I'll tell you what, if you're listening to this radio station and you saw Michael Jordan play baseball in Nashville, you watched me play first base for the Nashville Express.
Well, not really. That you were there playing for. They were all watching Jordan.
They were until I hit one over his head, and I got to jog around the bases.
Oh, look at you! Were you a bomber?
Yeah, I could hit it a long way today.
Did you make it? You made it AA?
AAA.
Were there thoughts of the show? All the times I've talked to you, we've never talked about it.
Until the White Sox said no. And then I went down to Venezuela and played in Venezuela for 2 years.
How was
that?
You
know that?
I can't believe I've never had this conversation.
Yeah, I played baseball in Venezuela. That's a whole nother show.
Right now, people are like, why aren't you talking to Scott about this? This is much more fun than education.
Well, no, that's not true.
I don't believe it's true either, but some do. We'll talk about that one of these days. Before we have to say goodbye, there were 3 constitutional amendments.
There are.
You and I just talked about it off air. They all 3 seem to me to be no-brainers.
They all should be yeses. I'll go through them very quickly. Constitutional amendment to keep violent offenders in custody, basically denying those who commit the most heinous crimes in Tennessee, gives the judge the ability to deny bail. 23 other states already have something like this. We're late to the game. But that's all it does. Second one is the constitutional amendment prohibiting a state property tax. Now, not county property taxes or municipality property taxes, but putting it in the Constitution like we do for state income tax, no state property tax. And the third one is a constitutional amendment to expand victims' rights, such as the right to request to be heard in any proceeding or involving release, plea, sentencing, disposition, giving those who are the victims of crime more of a voice in the adjudication of those criminals, of those crimes.
Yeah, all 3 of those are no-brain yeses.
Now, the question that was asked over the radio.
Yeah, I was about to recall it. So
very simple is when we fought against taking away that right or privilege, which is a right or privilege to the local counties, it was I asked a question on the House floor. Well, in the presidential election years, that's paid for by the state because we have to provide the presidential preference primary. But in the off-election year, like we have for governor coming up, those would have to be paid by the local counties. And so basically by passing that law, it became an unfunded mandate, and so they had to address that. And so mysteriously the next day, poof, $8 million showed up as a budget amendment.
Sexton maintained when he was on with us last week that these 2 things were not connected.
They weren't connected. They're not connected in reality, but because one was passed, it created a legislative conundrum.
So another way of saying that, and I don't want to put words in Sexton's mouth, but he felt like the one issue kind of brought the other issue to the surface.
That's correct, because I asked a question on the House floor, who pays for it in the off-election year now that you don't have an option?
Right.
And the answer was, well, the locals. Well, you heard the rumblings in the General Assembly. Like,
it's just moving the expense from the local community to the state.
To the state. Now, it's a one-time. We just did it for one time in 26, so which means in 30, we're going to have to address this issue again.
Personal opinion, besides the scholarship fund, what 1 or 2 things in the 30 seconds we have left, the best things personally?
Well, you know that I believe that if we solve education, we solve a lot of our back-end problems, right? I believe the cell phone bill during instruction time is huge, and the recess for elementary is huge. It'll pay huge dividends for us.
Everybody I talk to loves the recess bill. I mean, and the cell phone bill, too. The cell phone bill might be, I don't know, some parents might get a little itchy about it, but The recess bill, everybody loves it.
Well, yeah.
And I think it's a simple thing that I think is going to do a world of good for our elementary schools.
I appreciate that. We will see. And then TCAP's going on right now. We're hearing very good things. I hope to come back here and give you some real good numbers on TCAP.
Well, you can check in with us during the summer. Just because we're not in session,
I got to clear it.
We're
with
here.
Ken. I got to clear
but
it with
don't wear suits though.
Well, you
wear your farmer gear.
You wear those.
This is a casual kid. Yeah, those. What do you mean those?
It's something.
That's a good look for me.
Well, it's a look.
Yeah, cowboys and
it's a good look for somebody.
That's a nice tie, by the way.
Thank you very much.
See, you take the criticism and you turn it into kindness. That's what I do every day, 3 to 7.
I don't know. Heidi Campbell may disagree with you.
Tell Ken it's time for news.
Ken, it's time for news. Take us home, Ken.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we are looking at a 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather tomorrow night. Details coming up in the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, state troopers say there are at least 2 injuries after a school bus crashed into a creek and rolled on its side in Sumner County. This is the 400 block of Rockhouse Hollow Road. Reports say there were children inside the bus when it crashed. Multiple injuries. At least 1 person had been trapped. Highway Patrol investigating. Here in Nashville, Metro Police working to identify 2 bodies found in Donaldson. Someone out for a walk near the Lincoya Bay apartments discovered the bodies. Both men had been shot. Police say the police say they don't have any suspect information.
We are looking to see, obviously, if this has any gang affiliation. All options are open at this juncture. Some representatives from the federal government are also here as we try to advance this investigation and see just what exactly has occurred and who's responsible.
Anyone with information about the case has been asked to call Crime Stoppers. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he will propose changes to a state law that for now does not allow Nashville to lower the grocery sales tax rate. A bill passed by lawmakers last year allows cities and counties to reduce their grocery sales tax, but not metropolitan areas, which is how Nashville operates. Mayor O'Connell says he wants to bring the rate below the current rate of 6.2%. Bad news for a couple of counties, Murray and Henderson counties. More than 400 jobs are going away after automotive seating manufacturer Adient Facilities announced the permanent closure of 2 facilities in those counties starting on June 27th. And the Papal conclave set to start May 7th. The eligible cardinals at Vatican City already starting the process, meeting almost every day in what are called general congregations. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Belle Meade, police reporting a crash Harding Pike north of Highway 100. And then in Glencliff, police reporting a crash 24 eastbound right after Briley Parkway. In Berryhill, got a stalled vehicle on the left shoulder, 65 northbound past I-440. And then in Portland, Robertson County, got a stalled vehicle blocking the right lane, 65 southbound, right past exit 121. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, folks. Matt Murphy here, and I have a couple of questions to ask you. These are personal in nature, but it could save you hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars. If you have paid too much for health insurance, do you know that? I mean, are you aware of how much you're actually paying for your health care coverage throughout the course of the year? And what does it cost you in terms of the coverage you're actually getting? Shane Ring and Cover Nash, they can tell you today, locally, today. Another question that we want to ask is, are you getting enough out of your coverage? And if you don't know the answer to that, we can tell you. Shane Ring can tell you if you overspend on healthcare plans. And I love this. He works for you, not the insurance companies. That means he's not beholden to one company or another. He shops the entire industry and finds the right one specifically for you. They all have their pluses and minuses, and Shane understands those. He is your local expert, never a call center agent. He's an expert right in Brentwood. So I've been to his office, and I encourage you to go as well, or you can do this on the phone. Cover Nash wants to talk with you. Shane wants to let you get a health care plan that pays you, not the other way around. So go to covernash.com. That's covernash.com, or give him a call today. 615-465-0023. 465-0023 for our friends at Cover Nash.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and I'm proud of my shirt, whether Sapicki likes it or not.
I find it kind of stylish.
Doesn't look like a bad shirt at all.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I mean, what does Sapicki know?
Well, it's got cowboys on it.
It does. It's got a little ranch, a cowboy ranch. There's a guy, a fella on a horse, and there's one of them skulls. They got one of them cow skulls on there.
Some cacti.
Yeah, there's some cacti in here. The prairie,
horseshoes.
You're on the lonesome range.
Yeah. Is a fella on the horse shooting at somebody?
Oh, probably so. Shooting at snakes and such. Yeah. Whistling
an old cowboy tune.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, maybe he might have him a harmonica, for all I know. Tooting on that thing. I have another question for you. When y'all are searching for Ninkampoop stories, do you ever find stories and then you like them, and then you try to figure out where, like, they tell you like the name of the city or the name of the county, but sometimes it's tough to find out what state it's in or even what country it's in? I have found this.
Occasionally, yeah.
I'm going through that right now because I'm trying to figure out what state my story's from, and I can't figure it out. It's in Humboldt County. Where do you think Humboldt County's in? I bet a listener will tell us.
Humboldt County.
HUMBOLTD. And that just shows you how long that I spend looking for these stories. It's a good one, though. I think it's a winner.
All right.
Frankly. I mean, it has nothing to do with nakedness. Has nothing to do with drunkenness. Well, it does kind of have something to do with drunkenness. I'll take that back. But it is in Humboldt County.
There's a Humboldt County, California.
Let's go with that. You know what?
That's the only one I see, actually.
Whether it's in California or not, we're going to play along. It's 41 after the hour. It's time for Ninkampoops and the news.
Ninkampoop.
Tight shirt edition.
For news.
I don't think
he hasn't done it yet.
I don't think he's got the tight shirt on yet.
Well, I put it on. And after some careful consultation with my
the ego and the id.
Yeah, well, the part of me that's scared of my wife, I decided I'm not going to embarrass my family in that matter.
Well,
I got to say, in Ken's defense, he did come in here to get the medium. When he picked it up and held it, I said, "That's a medium? Looked like a child's size shirt."
Yeah,
it's a mighty small medium.
Well, there's XL in here or L in here. What? I mean, there's one in there for you, Ken.
I can do the large.
There's a size for you if you want to take one home, because Tony brought us all a shirt.
Yeah,
which is nice.
When's the last time you boys were able to put a medium on?
I'll try one on right now. I will.
I think I may actually have a medium or two. Just like certain shirts seem to be run bigger than others.
Yeah, see, I can do that with larges. Like, there are certain larges that I put on and I go, oh, wow, I've lost some weight. Hey, what about this? And then I put on other larges and I'm like, man, I got man boobs. What about this?
Yeah, well, you'll have man boobs in that medium.
Maybe the folks watching in the 6 o'clock hour might get a glimpse of the old Murphy medium. For now, it's time for Ninkampoops. It's an opportunity for us to look all over the globe, all over the United States of America, right here in the state of Tennessee, and find the Ninkampoops where they live and breathe and address them to you. And then you get to vote on your Ninkampoop of the day. And we do it in this fashion. It's a random... Oh, congratulations, Ken Weaver. You get to go first. Wow. It was almost me, but that last little...
For a moment, I thought, is Murphy okay?
Is he having a stroke?
All right, boys. This was on Friday, April the 18th, as reported by KIRO, Channel 7. I believe that is out of Seattle, Washington. A man is being charged with indecent exposure after police say he ran around a Mukilteo neighborhood nude Friday morning. He was scaring homeowners, they said. Happened around the Harbor Point Boulevard around 8:30 in the morning. Officers say several people called 911. There's a man with no clothes on. What's worse is he's acting erratically.
Well, most of them do.
Police arrived and took him into custody. He was evaluated and then booked into the Snohomish County Jail. And... sorry, that's all I've got.
You know what never happens in any of these stories? What I've learned from Ninkampoops in the news is that never in these stories, when it involves a naked person, does it say police arrived and he was not taken into custody.
Yeah.
They're always if you're naked and police show up, you're going to jail.
You're going to jail, dude. Police released him on his own recognizance.
Yeah, that doesn't happen, does it?
Tim writes in and says, Ken should rename his portion of this segment Naked Ninkampoops in the News. Got a ring to it. I kind of like it.
I couldn't find a good one today, man. I mean, I want to hear what this guy was saying. You know he was saying things. I mean, if he was scaring people.
Well, what are you going to do? Arrest me?
Yeah.
Come on. Come on out. Fight me.
What,
Bring it on, buddy.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Let's wrestle.
You ain't got nothing on me. Can I borrow your shirt?
You can't see me. I'm invisible.
Trying to sneak up onto people.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what bit was that on where the guy thought he was invisible? Oh, somebody on the super text line tell me. There's a bit that's in my head where a guy thought he was invisible. And
that sounds familiar.
And took off and he wasn't invisible, and he took off all his clothes. It's like, you can't see me, and everybody could see him. I don't know where that.
I love it.
That's pretty good. Ooh, it's like, oh God, we can see you. We can see everything. I'm getting Humboldt County is in California. I got a couple of Texases. but I don't.
I didn't see a Texas.
And
anyway,
I did. I've gotten a couple of things from the super text line. Humboldt is a city in Gibson and Madison County, Tennessee. Huh. Well, that's a city. That's not a county, right? Yeah. And then Sally writes in and says Humboldt County is known for great marijuana.
Really?
Well, I mean, I think if anybody knows marijuana, it'd be Sally. I'm making that up. I don't know why I'm casting aspersions. That's Sally. 2415 says it's not really the story that Ken tells, it's the way he tells the story. That's true. Yeah. I think Ken wins half of his nincompoops because he's better at it than I.
I agree. Well, he does it for a living.
Yeah, that's right. All right, I'll go ahead and tell my Humboldt County story because it's probably going to lose to Chris Webber too. But I thought, look, this isn't the most fantastical deal that we've ever talked about. I just thought this was fascinating.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. There are about 136,000 people living in Humboldt County, California, according to the 2020 census. About 106,000 of those people are adults. A few hundred of them get a little red and white card in the mail during any given year telling them that it is time to sacrifice a little bit of their lives and time to serve on a jury. And we got folks serving on a jury right now in the federal court, that Casada trial, right? Mm-hmm. So many of them will come up with excuses to get out of jury duty. Quite a few others will simply ignore the summons. Many of those that do show up get excused. When the process is concluded in any given trial, 12 people, which is about 0.00009% of the Humboldt County population, that's a very small percentage, will be chosen for jury duty. That's 4 zeros and a 9. That's teeny. Statistically, a tiny slice of the county that is larger than this county is larger than Rhode Island and Delaware combined.
Wow.
Wow. That doesn't sound right, but whatever. I guess geographically.
Yeah.
So it's incredible that this month, a husband and wife from Eureka, California, served together on the same jury.
Interesting.
The judge, according to Tori Wilmington, 47, she said, the judge asked me during selection, do you know anyone else here in the courtroom today? And she said, well, yes. And he said, okay, who do you know? And the indication was maybe you know one of the defendants, you know somebody in the courtroom. And she was like, well, my husband's the juror in the back.
Sitting right behind me.
And the judge is like, well, this has never happened before. And the lawyers looked around and said, it's never happened to us either. It was pretty extraordinary coincidence that she and her husband of 15 years, David Wilmington, both served on a drunk driving trial. Both David and Tori wanted to make it on the jury. For Tori, it was especially exciting because she said she had always wanted to serve on a jury. She had been impressed by the importance of community service since a young age. She was thrilled to be summoned. She had never been able to serve. David had been on a few juries before this, wasn't as psyched, but he enjoyed the experience and said he enjoyed working together with his wife. They were allowed to stay on the jury. There's nothing impermissible about a husband and wife being on the same jury. Both he and Tori said they loved the chance to get a chance to repeat the experience, but the chances of that happening are ultimately millions to 1. I thought that was very... Now, that begs the question. Men, in what we do, it's a little bit more difficult to get on one, but have y'all ever served or would you want to?
I have never been called to serve on a jury, ever.
I've never. I never have.
I was called once and I remember this, in 2007. It was about 2 weeks. It was in Jefferson County, Alabama. It was about 2 weeks after I was fired from Crawford Broadcasting. They decided they were going to religious programming, and they decided Matt Murphy was not religious program.
I take it none of them referred to you as Brother Murphy.
Checks out.
Well, Weaver, you might have given me some gravitas. That does check out. And so I went to Jefferson County. It was a big room, a lot of people, and there was an initial kind of gatekeeper guy that said, if there's any reason that you feel like you can't serve on a jury, come see me first before you go to the judge, and I'll decide. And he was sending a lot of people back to sit down, and I thought he was going to send me there too. And I said, I'm currently unemployed and I've applied for a number of jobs, and I've just, I've got to keep my time available to go to these interviews if they pop up. And he goes, okay, you're excused. Goodbye. I was like, oh, wow, that's nice. So
that easy.
I was kind of disappointed in it. I wanted to serve. Yeah. Mr. Weber, your nincompoop, sir.
A Florida man's job-seeking efforts took a grotesque turn a couple weeks ago. According to Pinellas County affidavit, John Connaughton visited Doors Molding and More back on April 3rd, seeking employment. After store staff declined to interview him, he allegedly retaliated by launching multiple urine-filled bottles through the front entrance of the store, dousing merchandise and splashing in employees' bare legs. Witnesses report that Connaughton fled on foot, but was chased by the victim, who later told police the suspect threatened him with a raised skateboard before being apprehended. That was his getaway car, skateboard. Connaughton's criminal record, imagine this, includes prior charges for lewd and lascivious exhibition. Though his latest stunt adds a new layer of infamy, the affidavit notes that his pattern of volatility with the urine assault marked an escalation in confrontational behavior. He now faces charges of felony battery, criminal mischief, and aggravated assault, and his bail was set at $15,000.
15 grand.
No word on whether it was his urine. I assume it was. I don't know where else he would have gotten it.
I hope so. I mean, hey, can I borrow something? You show up to your neighbor's house with a cup.
You got a second, bud?
You need some sugar? No. Gotta be a little something different. There you go. That's Ninkampoops in the News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Most people like Ninkampoops in the News. It's a veer away from the serious news. 1323 is not one of them. It says, y'all talk about stupid news too often. I've been turning the station. Well, it's very popular. And that's it for today. Very, very popular. Well, yeah, don't be a fuddy-duddy. We'll talk about the real news coming up next on Super Talk. Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when somebody tells you something will be ready at 4 o'clock and it's not, or people, people are just tired of being told things that aren't so. Well, it's Matt Murphy, and if you've had unreliable vehicle repair, unreliable European auto repair, come to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable. Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready, when they say that it's ready, not so that you have to stand around waiting on it. Eurofix also repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer, and they don't charge you dealer pricing. Dealer repair shops, and this is something they don't want you to know, but it's true, they're designed to pay virtually all of the overhead at the dealership, and that's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for all of that? At Eurofix, reliable means a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead. Loaner car is very popular. If you're tired of unreliable vehicle auto repair, come to where it's reliable. Come to Eurofix for 26 years. 844-EUROFIX, that's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com.
Two bodies found in Donaldson, and Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he wants to cut Nashville's grocery sales tax rate, but he can't. These stories and more at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It was Ed Begley Jr., and the film was 1987's Amazon Women on the Moon.
Wow, I missed that.
Which was a sketch comedy. It was a weird movie that I saw on Cinemax.
Cinemax had those.
Cinemax had some good weird movies.
Well, you were waiting on those other movies to come on?
Well, no, this one had some boobies in it, too. But Ed Begley Jr. played the son of the Invisible Man, and he believed that he had replicated his father's formula, but is in fact fully visible, but thinks he's invisible and takes his clothes off and goes into the local pub where he is arrested for indecent exposure. Amazon Women on the Moon is a very, as I recall it, a very funny film. We'll have more fun and frivolity plus more serious things coming up in the next hour of the show. It is 6 o'clock. Time for news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are expecting the potential for some severe weather here in Middle Tennessee. We'll tell you more about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, state troopers on the scene where they say at least 2 injured after a school bus crashed into a creek and rolled on its side in Sumner County. This is the 400 block of Rock House Hollow Road. Reports say there were children inside that bus when it crashed, and THP continues to investigate. Here in Tennessee, investigators working to identify 2 bodies found in Donaldson by someone out for a walk near the Lincoln Bay Apartments this morning. Police say the men were shot, but they don't have any suspect information. And in Nashville, Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he wants to bring the grocery sales tax rate below the 6.2% current level. But Fox 17 says he can't do it right now because of a technicality. The law passed by the legislature last year pertains to counties and municipalities, not metropolitan areas, which is how Nashville operates. So Mayor O'Connell says he's going to propose changes to that law. And a car seat manufacturer is closing up shop in Tennessee. Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development says 80 facilities in Murray and Henderson counties have already started layoffs, with more than 400 jobs total to be lost by the time those facilities are permanently closed in June. And the U.S. Navy says a fighter jet rode off an aircraft carrier and into the Red Sea earlier today.
The incident occurred as the $70 million jet was being towed from the hangar bay of the aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman. Both the fighter jet and the tow tractor rolled off the carrier deck and into the Red Sea. 2 crew members, one on board the FA-18 and another inside the tractor, jumped out in time. But officials say one sailor suffered a minor injury.
We're learning new details about one of the victims killed when a 30-year-old man allegedly drove an SUV into a crowd at a Filipino heritage festival in Vancouver, Canada on Saturday.
A teacher who was also a school counselor has now been identified as one of the 11 killed. Kira Salim worked at 2 schools southeast of Vancouver. The school district saying in a statement that Salim had a powerful impact on children. 32 people were hurt when the car plowed into the crowd. Kai G. Adam Lowe, the alleged driver, has a history of mental health issues and run-ins with police.
That's Alex Stone. And a date now set for conclave for the cardinals of the Catholic Church to choose a new pope.
We now have a date for the conclave. It will be May 7th, next Wednesday. This is when 135 cardinals who are eligible to vote will be deciding on who is the next pope. This is following, of course, the death of Pope Francis. Thousands have already been to pay their respects. The line goes all the way around the building here. Some 70,000 have been through. A very simple tomb. It's just his name in Latin, Franciscus, which is written on it. James Longman, ABC News in Rome.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Right now, got a stalled vehicle, right shoulder block, 65 northbound at Rosa Parks Boulevard. Then the right lane is blocked by a crash in Madison Briley Parkway southbound after Gallatin Pike. Then 65 southbound, got a stalled vehicle blocking the right lane, and that is just going to be past Portland, exit 121 there on 65 southbound. In Murfreesboro, people on the roadway. 24 westbound at Medical Center Parkway. That's going to be exit 76. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Radio Show continues. Thank you for being around. 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well so far. Maybe you're driving home. Perhaps you're already at home or still at your place of business. One way or the other, we thank you for being a part of the day today. Hopefully, we have been able to educate and entertain you just a little bit. Donald Trump made an appearance at the funeral of the Pope over the weekend. President Donald J. Trump also sat down with Vladimir Zelensky. You won't hear a lot about what happened with Donald Trump regarding Vladimir Putin over the weekend because he slapped Putin down, threatens to walk in terms of American involvement in an opportunity to settle the Ukrainian-Russian war, a conflict obviously started by Vladimir Putin himself. But equally, he's frustrated with Volodymyr Zelensky's misunderstanding of what they need to bring to the table in terms of what would bring the Russians to the table regarding a possible peaceable solution. In other words, until you beat Russia, they're not going to give everything up. And the sticking point seems to be Crimea. And Trump understands in the art of the deal that you have to be willing. I mean, you come at this with a hard no on certain things, but you have to be at the negotiating table willing to give up certain things in order to achieve the peace. If peace is your ultimate objective. Now, I understand that Zelensky doesn't want to give up portions of the Ukraine. I understand that he doesn't want to give up geography. Trump understands, or at least he thought he did, that if Putin's interest is peace, that perhaps Putin would take the opportunity, if he gets Crimea, to give up everything else. Putin attacked Ukraine last week. As a result, Trump said over the weekend, I'm not so sure the guy wants peace to begin with. I don't know if I trust him or not. 2 weeks will tell. As a consequence, earlier today, Vladimir Putin announced that he was engaging in at least a 3-day total ceasefire regarding hostilities between the Ukrainians and the Russians. Let's see if it sticks. Speaking of hostilities, we saw that 11 people in Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia, Canada, were killed over the weekend. A vehicle was used to plow through a street festival. A mentally disturbed individual in that case noted that over the weekend. Everybody's getting upset about Real ID, and rightly so. This could have been, look, it could have been solved. Nobody wants to hear how it could have been solved. We have standardized driver's licenses. Driver's licenses are an acceptable form of identification for a reason, because most people in the United States of America have them. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Those in major metropolitan areas where you do not need a vehicle, or those, there are certain parts of the country where people don't have cars. I mean, obviously. We don't live in those parts of the country. But those people have identification, and those people travel in other ways. I said over the weekend, and I was surprised at the amount, and I'll open up the phone lines on it, 615-737-9986. I was surprised at the amount of pushback I got on this. The struggles that the various states have had with Real ID could have been solved. It was out of an abundance of wanting to please everyone that these things have not been solved. Now, y'all can argue about the 10th Amendment, and I understand that argument. I understand that those that crafted this legislation, which was primarily directed toward flying, wanted to craft it in such a way where they believed that it did not encroach on or violate the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, giving states the responsibility of most of this type of activity. The Real ID, the original, if I'm not mistaken, the original law that was passed was in 2006. We have known for 19 years that Real ID was a reality that was coming around the corner. And now, here it is. If you are traveling domestically soon and you do not have a Real ID compliant driver's license, you will have to make sure that you have another acceptable form of identification before the upcoming May deadline. Starting on May 7th, Tennesseans, everybody, will need a Real ID compliant driver's license or other acceptable form of identification to board commercial flights within the United States of America and access certain federal facilities. As of April 1st of this year, just 20 some odd days ago, about 2.7 million Tennessee residents have gotten their Real IDs. That according to Axios. That figure represents about 47% of all valid driver's licenses and IDs in the volunteer state. Now, I will note that our show, I have forgotten. We've talked about this in the past. You have yours? You do have yours?
Yes, I do. I got mine in 2021.
Ken does not have his, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think so. No.
And then, and I have mine. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf would say. About 47% of all valid driver's licenses and IDs in the volunteer state, I should say, are Real IDs. With the deadline less than 2 weeks away, here are some fun facts that you ought to know according to the Tennessean. If you miss the deadline, it's not a hard deadline unless you have to travel. Beginning May 7th, Tennessee driver's licenses and identification cards that are not Real ID compliant will no longer be accepted to to enter certain federal buildings, military bases, nuclear power plants, or board commercial flights within the United States of America. That is according to the Department of Safety and Homeland Security in the state of Tennessee. Also on May 7th, the Transportation Security Administration will no longer accept state-issue IDs that are not Real ID compliant at security checkpoints. All airline passengers 18 years or older, including TSA pre-check members, must present Real ID compliant identification or another form of acceptable ID. Secretary Noem and the Trump administration are enforcing the 2005 Real ID Act and regulations on May 7th, as directed by Congress and the American people. According to the senior TSA official performing the duties of the administrator, Adam Stoll. According to TSA, travelers who present a state-issue identification that is not Real ID compliant and do not have another form of acceptable ID will expect travel delays, additional screening, and the possibility of not being permitted into the security checkpoint. Wait, so that means they're leaving the door open that you can be? See, they're still half pregnant on this, and I'm telling you, this is a Band-Aid that could have been pulled off so easily. More on that in a second. Can I travel without Real ID? What other forms of ID are acceptable? The question is, yes, according to the implementation of the Real ID Act, Tennesseans who opt not to obtain a Real ID can still fly domestically using a valid passport or another federally issued photo identification. Here are the acceptable TSA photo IDs for travel on an aircraft. Ready? State-issued enhanced driver's license, that's Real ID. Passport, U.S. passport card, DHS trusted traveler cards like Global Entry, Nexus, Sentry, or Fast, USA Department of Defense ID, permanent resident card. Border crossing card. What? What is that? I don't even know what that is. An acceptable photo ID issued by a federally recognized tribal nation, including ETCs, known as enhanced tribal cards. Foreign government-issued passports, Canadian provincial driver's licenses, transportation worker identification credentials. What? A U.S. citizenship and immigration services employment authorization card. You know, there's a lot of carve-outs for federal employees. Y'all notice this? Like, y'all don't have to stand in line for all of that. Can I get a real ID after the May deadline? Of course you can. Tennesseans can obtain a real ID after the May deadline. May 7th is simply the federal implementation date, not a definitive deadline. Your existing Tennessee driver's license or other ID remains valid for other purposes, such as driving, voting, and accessing emergency services. Do I need an appointment for real ID? No, you do not. So I said over the weekend that all of this could have been avoided because what the states did, and I understand that there was a concern in 2005, and it was a valid concern, or that what this constituted was a standardization of our driver's licenses. In other words, this is ultimately a national travel card or a national ID card. You say the words national ID card, and a lot of people get a little concerned because we don't believe in a federal government that is big enough to force us to show us your papers, please, at any given whim. At the same time, I can understand why the various states would want certain levels of standardization of driver's identification or identification at all. So right now, if you're a Tennessee Highway Patrolman, I mean, I guess you can do that. I don't know how it works. I don't pretend to. But I would suppose that, I mean, what do you do if you pull somebody over and you get a driver's license from, I don't know, Hawaii, right? And you don't know if this is real or not or valid or not, and you don't know how Hawaii does their procedures. I suppose you could look it up. What should have been done, we can debate whether or not this was necessary all we want. And I would probably fall on the side of no, it was not necessary. As long as the states are doing their job in identifying the individuals that are getting driver's licenses or other forms of identification. If we have a robust system to prove we are who we say we are. Sadly, some states don't. California doesn't. You think Connecticut does? Some of these liberal states, they'll take a note from teacher, you get a driver's license. They'll take a note from teacher, you get an ID. Right? These state-issued IDs from some of these liberal states aren't worth the card stock that they're laminated on. So I would argue that maybe we need to figure out who's here legally and who's not here legally, and we can't depend on some of these liberal states to do it for us. With that in mind, what we should have done, set the argument about whether or not you needed this ID aside for a moment. It was passed, and it was signed, and it was done so in the aftermath of 9/11. It was done so in the spirit of we've got terrorists among us, and they're trying to kill us. What we should have done was declare that on X day, if let's say the deadline for travel is May 7th, about 8 years ago, the state of Tennessee should have said, from henceforth, if your ID expires and you're going to get a new ID, you have to get a real ID. But I'm not going to travel. We don't care. You got to prove who you say you are. You got to bring all this documentation. And we know it's a pain in the butt, and we know it's more of a pain in the butt for women than it is for men because you got to demonstrate, all of the name changes and all of that. One way or the other, you have to get a real ID. But I don't want a real ID. I want my same old ID. You can't get a same old ID. The same old ID is now the real ID. There is no more old ID. If you had done that, you would have staggered this over 8 years, and everybody would have a real ID now. But you didn't. You allowed people to do it the easy way. And over half of Tennesseans have done it the easy way. You know what's going to happen at B&A Airport May 7th, May 8th? I predict chaos all across the country because there are a lot of people that listen to that namby-pamby FM radio rock and roll rubbish and don't listen to us. It's a little harken. That's an homage to Rush, by the way. And they have no idea what's going on. They wouldn't know their butts from a hole in the ground. They got no clue what's happening. And they're going to off to B&A they go on the 8th or the 9th of May. And they're going to hand their identification, and they're going to say, no, you can't do that. And they're going to get mad, and they're going to pitch a fit. And I get to play a game of I Told You So. 21 after the hour. We'll get your thoughts on all of this. Is it a national identification card? And is that so bad? Tell me why. 21 after the hour on Super Talk. I've received an unsolicited package. I'm going to open it live on the air.
Ooh, dangerous. It's not leaking, is it?
No.
There's no postage on that. That's interesting.
No, I think it was hand-delivered.
Hand-delivered.
Mm-hmm. Super Talk, 99.7 FM, Matt Murphy. Spelled my name probably. I had a
Is there another way to spell it?
Well, I had a salad for lunch. I had a client lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy asked my name, and I said Murphy. And he said, with a E?
Oh, EY maybe?
I said no, it's Murphy. And then when the thing popped up on the screen and it said who the order was for, it was MVERPH. I was like, well, why do you even? You're not even trying.
That's one way to spell it. I'd never seen
it.
That.
It wasn't even a Y on there. You're not even trying. All right, let's see what this is. While we're doing this live on the radio, you can check us out on. Oh, that's very nice. I don't know who gave me that, but that's very good. Oh my goodness gracious! Well, how about that? That's sweet. I wish I knew who gave me this.
Didn't leave a note or anything?
There's no note, I don't think, but it is a book by David Boaz called The Libertarian Mind, a manifesto for freedom. A book, and it has wow. Okay, surely somebody wrote me and I've forgotten about it. It is a fabulous legacy card with Fran Tarkenton and Herschel Walker.
Ooh, look at that!
How about that? Now that is something else.
Nice.
That's nice right there. Got Fran and Herschel. A couple of Heisman Trophy winners here. Did Fran win the Heisman? No. Sinkwich won the Heisman.
That's correct. Yeah.
Fran was just a pretty good quarterback at the old University of Georgia. Okay, back to your calls. I believe that you said Joe has some inside scoop on the Real ID deal. Can I say who you're an employee with, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead.
Joe is with TSA. Don't blame Joe.
Yeah.
Is that fair, Joe? Don't blame Joe. Joe just follows the rules.
No, that's fair. Yeah, we just do what we're told here. But Real ID was passed like way back forever ago, like in 2005. So this shouldn't be new. The government always keeps pushing everything back, but not this time. So do you work on the front lines with TSA, Joe? No, I used to though.
But I'm assuming you associate with those folks every day and you have to talk to them. And are y'all expecting it to be bad?
Right now, I think we're thinking that about 80% or so of people actually have the Real ID, or at least they're getting close to that number. So we don't think it's going to be that bad. But that's something that, I kind of agree with. Like, I get what you were saying before where, I like a registry kind of thing, but at the same time, like it's more difficult to obtain a Real ID than just a normal driver's license. And like anybody anywhere can, apply for a driver's license with minimal, paperwork and stuff like that. But you really have to, prove yourself. And,
I had to take, if my memory serves me correctly, because I got my Real ID in the state of Tennessee when I moved here. I had an Alabama driver's license. And I recall that I brought my certificate of live birth, which is different than a birth certificate, but that's all I've got. So I brought my certificate of live birth. I brought my Social Security card, and I brought a couple of utility bills. And I believe that's all I had. And I know that the circumstances are different for everyone, and I'm going to get a lot of people yelling at me, but that doesn't seem too hard for me.
It's really not. I don't think that it's a big thing, but it's still, you have to, prove that you are who you are, and what better, and I want to make a quick note. So just because you don't have the Real ID, there's still some other forms that we do accept still, like the passport or military's CAT card or veteran ID, we still take those.
And these are only these pieces of identification. It's only for 18 and up, right?
Yes.
So any children traveling, how does that work, by the way? I mean, but I guess children are anyone under the age of 18 is under the care of a guardian or adult?
Yes. I can't get into too much detail about it, but it's generally a lower risk type thing.
Right. It just occurred to me that I'd never thought about this question, but because I don't have any kids, Joe. But if I was traveling with my 12-year-old, well, my 12-year-old doesn't have identification. So how do they get on a plane?
Right. They don't. Yeah. We don't need identification from anybody under the age of 18.
That makes sense. Well, Joe, best of luck. Keep me in line. If I say anything that seems out of line, let me know. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And listen, I don't blame the TSA folks for the most part. I mean, some of them are worthless, but for the most part, most of them are just trying to get their job done and get home to their families, and they're just trying to do it by the rules that are given to them. They don't make them up. It's 32 after the hour on Super Talk. Friends, Defend Systems is, simply put, a life-saving company in Middle Tennessee. And I don't think I'm saying too much about it because truly they can save lives. When they instruct you and your staff, your location, your facility, the people that you manage in your company or that you talk to in your facility, whether it be a church or a school, wherever it might be, they can instruct you in ways that can save lives if the time comes that there's a dramatic situation going on in your school, in your church, in your place of business. Things like active shooter response, workplace violence prevention, site survey and threat assessment, security improvement consultation, emergency and intruder action plans. All of these are customized specific to your facility, and they are customized at your direction, meaning they're going to teach as much as they can to your staff, to the people that gather in your place of business or your school or your church, exactly what to do in the event that something like this happens. Now, the possibility is very low, but it's not zero. That means hope is not a plan. It's time to get trained. Get trained with Defend Systems. Call Brink and his team today at 615-236-6484. 236-6484. Go online to defendsystems.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Daryl writes in on the Super Text line, the Super Talk Super Text line. Ha! Daryl writes. Ha! Since I don't, he's figured something out. I'll start over. Ha! Since I don't have one of those star cards, I can't go into a federal building. That means I can't be taken to a federal court or worry about getting audited by the IRSs. He put in IRSs. It's IRS, and then there was an S. That's S's, right? The IRSs?
I would think so, yeah.
I have written back to Daryl, and it reads as follows. Good luck with this plan. Let me know where to send bail money.
It's an interesting theory, but
I mean,
you can test it out if you want to, Daryl.
I would be willing to bet that if you're walking through the back door of the federal courthouse, they're not going to require any identification. But that's just me. In the meantime, I've got this fun fact for you. In the aftermath of the draft, we haven't really talked much about it. We talked a little about it with Jason Whitlock. The Giuffre Sanders. Now, I don't care about any of that. I mean, I'm glad Tennessee got Cam Ward. I hope that he's the quarterback that they think he is. I'm all in on Tennessee. I still hold a mild affiliation for my NFC Atlanta Falcons, but I'm all in on Tennessee. But I would note this, and I note this mainly for Weber because I think it's a fun statistic for us Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay.
The Georgia Bulldogs in the Kirby Smart era now have more selections in the first round of the NFL draft than they do losses.
I saw that. That's something.
That's a badass statistic.
Yes, it is.
I like that statistic. 20 first-round selections and 19 losses.
I also saw that let's see, it was Dan Jackson was drafted, former walk-on Dan Jackson drafted ahead of Quinn Ewers, the quarterback of the Texas Longhorns.
Oh yeah. Oh, and wasn't it Dan Jackson that didn't he number 17? He forced the fumble at Georgia Tech that got us into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We lose at Tech, we might be in the SEC, but we're not in the playoffs.
Yep.
So, he forced the fumble that led to the 8 overtime comeback. Oh, Dan Jackson. Great story. Probably as good a story as Stetson. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, a former walk-on, you're just a can-do guy, just grind, eventually
Never
started.
gave up. Yeah.
And now is going to be an NFL prospect.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Let's talk to Brad, who's in Murfreesboro. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Matt. Well, it's a couple of years late, but welcome to WTN. I've been meaning to tell you that. I used to listen to you down in Birmingham for a number of years whenever I'd be through there. And so it was great to hear who they brought on.
How am I doing, Brad? Better, worse? What do you think?
Oh, well, I'd say better because you're, up here. It's kind of funny. I always felt like down there in Birmingham when I'd hear you, I was listening to one of the, talent on WTN, and lo and behold, you wind up here.
Oh, well, that's very kind. I love it up here.
Glad
Absolutely fabulous.
Glad to have you here. So I just think this Real ID thing is a bunch of hogwash. And I think it's a way for them just to try and charge us for yet another ID. Are you going to have to renew this thing every time you go? Like when you go, I have a CDL, okay? And so if I want to get my hazmat, to renew it, I've got to go back and get my fingerprints taken again, and I've got to do this. And it's, well over $100 and really kind of a hassle. So I've got to go up. I think there's one place up around the Operaland where you go to get that done. And then, it's got to go through all this rigmarole. I don't need my hazmat any longer, but it's just a hassle. And then it was another fee. And I don't fly that much domestically. I probably fly more international than I do domestic, but I'll just bring my passport with me. Yeah. And if it took them 20 years to implement
well, and once again, you're half pregnant? Why are you allowing people to get? I mean, if you have to do this, you should encourage people to do it just by insisting that they do it. And I understand that for some people it's harder than others. Some people, they maybe don't have their name on identifying features that will put them at a particular location, like an electric bill or a water bill. I mean, that's a little more difficult. I understand that, but there are other alternatives. I just I don't know why they did it the way that they did it, but I think they created this dynamic that it's going to confuse and anger the hell out of a lot of people, not people like you with passports.
Yeah, well, I think people who are reluctant to do this it's probably because of the stories that they've heard over and over again of the hassle it is to go and get this. I'm not even sure I could tell you where my birth certificate is. I know I have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I could find my marriage certificate, but I don't know where my birth certificate is. And yet you got to have that. And then, I don't know, is there any consistency at the DMVs? I heard the horror story when you guys were talking about this a number of weeks ago about the guy who had to account for 8 marriages. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and I want to get some clarity. And it's funny, Chris and I were talking about this. our executive producer and the host of this show were independently trying to work on getting people in an official capacity to talk to us about this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're running from it. They're running from the conversation. And I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm saying that Chris and I had the same response as we tried to get people on about it. And that's like, oh, well, you need to talk to this person. Oh, you need to talk to that person. And nobody really wants to talk to us. I mean, I think I agree with you. It's what'd you call it? Hogwash?
Yeah, hogwash. Yeah. Well, there's another phrase that I like from that Neil Bortz used to use, dog squeeze. That's a good one too.
Dog pablum. A lot of
yes.
I mean, I like
So,
them all.
anyway,
I like them
just
all.
wanted to let you know what my opinion was. But great
God
job.
bless you. It's not your opinion's not hogwash, Brad. Thank you for the call. Hogwash, pablum, dog squeeze.
Ugh, dog squeeze.
Balderdash. Bunch of hooey. My grandma used to use that one. A bunch of hooey. Bunch of baloney, gobbledygook. Poo. Piffle. What's another one?
What was the one that Biden used? He used to use the old timey.
Oh,
what was that?
What was it? He didn't say no. What did he say? He didn't say blarney. Drivel.
I can't remember.
Malarkey. He used malarkey. There you go. There you go. We'll settle on that. That's a lot of malarkey. That's a bunch of malarkey, Jack. Hey, Dawn. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the call.
So, back in June, I had to get my ID or my driver's license renewed. And because I had moved, all I had to show was my proof of residency. So I go to get my driver's license renewed, and she asked me, do you have your birth certificate? And I can go ahead and get you the gold star. And I said, I wish I would have known that. That's what I needed to get it done, and I would have. So knowing that all I need is my birth certificate to go get my real ID, a couple of weeks, or the gold star. A couple weeks ago, I went and I stood in line for about 3.5 hours, only to be told that I have to be able to show all of my marriages and all of my divorces, and I had to have my birth certificate and my proof of residency, and all I had was my birth certificate. So I wasted all that time. So today is the day I show up with all. I've been married 3 times, so I had to have 3 marriages and 2 divorce decrees.
How? Here's what I don't understand, and maybe you can help me understand it. And it's a genuine question. I'm not saying that you're not right. I mean, you're wrong. You're obviously experiencing it. But if you were married 3 times, they're trying to match the birth certificate with your current legal name. Why do you have to go through every step in the process? Why can't you just bring your birth certificate and your current marriage license?
Because I have to show how I went from my original last name. I have to show where it changed from Miller to Rainey. I had to show where it changed from Rainey to DeCamp, and then I had to show where it changed from DeCamp to Wilbanks, which is where I'm at now. I had to be able to show, I don't know. I just have to be able to show proof of why I am no longer that one, but I am this one now.
You should have lied to him.
Well, you have to.
I mean, I'm saying this is not official. This is not official advice.
I'm actually fibbing a little bit because I have divorced the 3rd one, but I'm still away with Wilbanks. So I'm not going to bother showing them my divorce decree from the same name I've already got. So I'm already doing it. Yeah, I know.
But I mean, how would they? I mean, the question. I mean, how would they know? Like, I mean, I understand you don't want to lie to a government agent, but like, if you've been married 5 times, and Dawn it hasn't been, but if you've been married 5 times, how would you? Well, I've just been married once, and here's the birth certificate, and here's my married name, and that's it. How would they know?
I don't know. But anyway, so today's the day.
Okay.
And I showed up at the DMV at 5:30 this morning.
Okay.
And I was the 6th person in line.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I know, right? And they're not supposed to open till 8:30, but they're opening up at 7:30 because of all this line of Gold Star people. And so I waited and I waited and I waited, and I finally get in there. Well, did you know that the marriage license that you sign the day you get married is not actually the marriage certificate that you're supposed to bring with you? It's not an official copy. So I got denied because I brought the wrong marriage certificate today. So all that time I've wasted today was because I brought a decorative marriage certificate instead of an official copy of my marriage license.
Oh my goodness.
How
I mean, I don't know how you sound so pleasant right now.
I'm about to cry. I'm very angry.
Do you have? All right. So let me help you. So do you have to fly soon?
My dad is ill, and he's in New Mexico, and he may not make it much longer. And you only get 3 days of bereavement, so I can't drive. I'll have to fly. So I'm trying to be reactive on this so I can, when they say, come on, I'll be able to get on the airplane and go. And I can't because, as far as I knew, all I needed was a birth certificate, and I still can't get it.
I'm so sorry for you. I wish I had another answer for you. Are you going to give it? I mean, are you trying again to? Well, let me ask you this: do you have the stuff that you need, or?
Well, yeah, I just have to go and get the better copy of my marriage certificate.
Were the people there at least kind about all of this?
No. Somebody that was standing in line back below me at 7:30, somebody decided to go and knock on a window because they had not opened the doors yet, which automatically pissed off all the women inside, and they come out, who knocked on the door? And I was just like, it wasn't us, it was someone down the line. And she was like, we don't open until 8:30. We are being kind by opening these doors at 7:30 for you. So don't do that or we won't open until 8:30. And so it just kind of pissed everybody off inside. So we were already being greeted with, a day's worth of frustration when it was just getting started.
Well, call me back and let me know how it goes. I have faith that it's going to go, Donna, it's going to go okay. It's going to be all right. And I wish your dad the best. And please, whereabouts in New Mexico?
He is actually in a teeny town called TRC, which is Truth or Consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Barker came from Truth or Consequences. That's their claim to fame.
I've been through Truth or Consequences.
So he's actually just outside of Truth or Consequences in a smaller town called Williamsburg.
Well, God bless you. Call me back and let me know how it goes, okay?
I will. Thank you so much. I wish you much happiness here. I enjoy listening to you.
You're very kind, and I've joked with Dawn, and I didn't know the circumstances, and God bless you. I hope that you get everything that you need to get in order to facilitate this so you can get to see your dad. It is 54 after the hour on Super Talk. If you want to get better sleep, Dr. Brian McLaughlin is the man with the plan. He learned from Dr. Stephen Paas, and now he has taken over the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center. Dr. Paas is still there until his retirement, but Dr. Brian McLaughlin has such great credentials. He's a U.S. Army veteran, a dad, a business owner. Heck, he keeps bees in his off time. But during his time in Brentwood and Murfreesboro, he is dedicated to helping you sleep better. Custom fabricated oral appliance, FDA approved, clinically proven. Their treatment is for folks like me who could not tolerate wearing a CPAP machine, or you want a different alternative if you have mild to moderate sleep apnea. Friends, go to their website and see some of the incredible nature of what they're doing at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. You can sleep better through Dr. McLaughlin's guidance and through his tutelage and through this FDA oral appliance that helps you open those airways, sleep better throughout the night. You don't stop breathing. I'm telling you. And they're in insurance. They're in network with most insurance companies in the state of Tennessee. Plus, they're a community care provider to the VA. Give them a call, or better yet, go to TennesseeSleep.com. That's TennesseeSleep.com for more information for the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy. Genesis Diamonds is your destination for Mother's Day gift giving. This year, give her something that is timeless, meaningful, special. Genesis has a home run gift put together for you and an incredible selection of Mother's Day gifts that are both affordable and stylish. Layered necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, colored gemstone pieces, heirloom jewelry, diamond bracelets, and much, much more. These are pieces of jewelry that she can wear anywhere from Target to the theater. She can enjoy them from years to come. Dinner out is nice. A card is nice as well. But if you really want to let mom know that she means that special something to you and the family, how about a birthstone ring or something elegant from Tacori? Genesis Diamonds non-commissioned experts can help you pick out the perfect gift for Mother's Day and stay in budget. Go see my friends at Genesis Diamonds. Whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, mom deserves a gift that is anything but ordinary. Green Hills and Cool Springs, Genesis Diamonds and pre-owned luxury Rolexes. Go see my friends at Genesis. Hey, I've been remiss. Hey, thanks to, look at this. You see this right here? This was a gift. If you're watching on Talk TV, this was a gift that Dan Mandis left us. To the Murphy Show. So I guess it's to you and me.
Oh.
And what's so nice about it, it is personalized.
Okay.
Because it's a mug. It's a coffee mug for those listening on radio. And look, it's a picture of Dan on the mug. How about that?
Something, yeah.
Y'all go see the photo of Dan on the mug that he gave me right here in studio. It's time to go. Mark Levin is up next. We'll be back tomorrow. Hug your loved ones, so